Well, hello. How are
Hello.
we today?
Hey, y'all.
Hello,
Hey.
chat. Oh,
Hey.
hey, Copa.
Yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of these here.
Yeah.
Oh, I went. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, no, you need a camera. You need to put your knee up and
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do one of these.
Put your leg in the cast or something.
He's
Oh
such
yeah.
he's such a grump in this movie. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
he
Oh
is.
my
Yeah,
gosh,
he's-
how he treats Grace Kelly too. I'm just like,
How do you treat? Yeah. How do you?
Yeah,
a
he's.
jerk. I was gonna say something else, but I was, I'm not sure how Jacob's channel
I
is.
kind of,
No.
I kind of understand. He's been in a cast for months.
Right.
Right.
But come on,
Yeah, but
come on,
it's
man.
Grace Kelly, and you're just going
I
to
know.
treat her like he treats everybody like that. I find it kind of fascinating. That's like one of Jimmy Stewart's more grumpier characters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just a jerk to everyone.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, no
I
wonder
feel-
nobody believes him.
Right.
It's like
Nobody likes him.
Right.
it's like she almost has one of those. There's like a whole flock of like Japanese fetishes that young ladies have about grumpy old men, and some of them like have to do with like the grayness of their beard or whether or not they're wearing a shirt and tie, or I mean like the young ladies that love older men being older men for older men's sake, right? Like
Mhm.
grumpy old man in the park is considered adorable by a certain group, and there's always a name in Japanese culture. There's like a strict society of these fetishes.
That's
It's hysterical. But
Right.
Grace Kelly likes that he's a grump. She actually finds it humorous, doesn't she? I mean, there's a moment we're getting way ahead of ourselves, by the way.
I know.
So
We can't help
excited.
Say hello
ourselves,
to the
right?
chat real quick. Let's say hello to the chat real quick.
Right.
So we got first up, Joseph Dredd. Hey man, how you doing? We got Blair's in the chat.
Mhm.
Nice, Blair.
Hi, Blair.
Your Bobby is in the chat. Ms. Martin Muses, hello.
Hey, Miss
Hello.
Martin.
Zax, sup man?
Yeah, what's up, Zax?
That's about it.
Zach's in his shoulders. He shows up.
Mhm. Didn't save him from the ejector seat, though.
So let me ask this real quick before we get going.
Mhm.
For everybody, what is your first memory of this movie? If you can think of one.
Oh.
I don't know because it was always on. But I want to say Miss Torso is always baked into my head.
I mean, you can't help it. They do seem to zero in on her a lot, or make a point of bringing her up a couple times.
Miss Torso dancing to the refrigerator and then getting something out of it is a wow moment, especially for like a 12-year-old boy who's watching it on like Turner Classic Movies for the first time, and you go, "Whoa, that was happening in the 50s."
Alfred Hitchcock liked his blondes.
Oh yeah,
I know.
Especially the main female character role is almost always a blonde.
yeah, he liked his blondes. And we'll see back then. To your point, Copa, is that I'm not never quite certain, so people can correct me because I've never. I guess maybe I miss it or something. I just get drawn into the story and the scenery, but it almost gives me the impression of it's New York City. So and seeing the people sleeping outside, it's got to be sometime in the summer. So all the windows are open, everybody sees you, nobody cares because it's just hot in the city. It's like
Right.
nobody's gonna bat an eye on it or really judge you because it is what it is. They didn't really a lot of places didn't have air conditioning back then.
Right.
My parents
Yeah.
my parents didn't grow up with air conditioning, so
Haha.
I grew up with half air conditioning. The first level was air conditioned and the second level wasn't. So got a little hot up there.
Mhm.
Right. So you live downstairs in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
when my first apartment in college was exactly like that, and we all slept downstairs. None of us touched our rooms upstairs. We're just like, nope.
Yeah.
California summer, and it's hot up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
the building never drops that heat either. It just always
Right.
stays hot.
Yeah.
So kudos and congratulations to that couple that sleeps on a fire escape in the rain.
Yeah.
That's what they did back then. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
hey, you just you did what you had to do I'm sure now, those types of people, they're grateful for air conditioning. I know my parents always say we don't want to ever go back to that kind of world.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think my first memory of this film is it's when Turner Classic Movies started coming out, and these revivals of watching these old films in groupings. Like, I grew up with, It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh yeah.
Like all the time. And then to start seeing Jimmy in some of these other things, like I have a very clear memory of him in Vertigo, but I don't remember this one, which is kind of strange. So I must have seen it much, much later on when my brain was, more firmly packed with with other movies, hundreds of other movies, by the time I was in my mid-20s, and this was all, part of the world. My mid-20s were like 91 on.
Hi, Lisa. For me,
Welcome.
as everybody knows, who know me, like definitely Stephen and Jacob. My parents would raise my two older brothers and me on the old movies, on black and whites, even like old classic comedies like Three Stooges and the Marx Brothers. So this sort of stuff, I don't remember my earliest movie because it's kind of like it's part of who I am as a person. It's in my DNA. So it's kind of one of those things where I just don't quite remember when I first saw this, my earliest memory, but it's one that it's one that of course my parent, they were very good parents. They didn't want us to see too many things that could cause, when we were children, that could cause some issues or whatever. But it's a good movie for a child to get into, and it's not. I didn't think it was super. I don't remember because I didn't like the birds. I don't like the birds at all. That's my association with that is I'm scared and I don't want to watch that. But like for Rear Window, I've never felt that, but I've always felt the stakes, and I always felt like, come on, get the I want the bad guy to lose. You wake up Saturday morning cartoons kind of thing, the good guys versus the bad guys. So it's always that. But I've always grown up with it. I grew up with Harvey. I grew up with, Arsenic and Old Lace. So it's kind of,
so that's one of the funniest movies of all time.
Arsenic it is. It's fantastic. So it's, and I've grown up with like serious movies like The Longest Day and everything else. So it's kind of, this has been, it is literally like, if you gut my blood, basically, cut into my, you can see my blood, you'll see like black and white in there because that's what I grew up with. So
yes, same with me too. I grew up on all that stuff, old movie, and not just that we're little kids, but they wanted us, or my parents wanted us to start with the good stuff, the best stuff first,
Yep. And that way we have a foundation as to, and then we look,
palette,
and then we,
right?
Yeah, and now we're looking at modern entertainment, and we're like, what? We're a little spoiled with the old stuff. Let's just put it that way.
It's funny too, Mags, that you mentioned the birds. I mean, I have much more clear memories of the birds for sure. That and North by Northwest is just
North by Northwest is so good.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what it is. I guess because it was my parents liked those two movies more, or found them more intriguing, and that's why they were on TV. Back in the ancient past, us kids were not allowed to touch the dial. That was not our place in the world. We were to observe what our parents did, otherwise consequences in the form of leather or wood. But
or in the South, it was a switch. No, I didn't get that.
See, I'm Sicilian, so we got wooden spoons.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I would say I never really appreciated this movie until high school because North by Northwest, or sorry, I love North by Northwest. I was just thinking about it.
It's such a good movie.
God, it's one of the best. It's one of my favorites of all time. And so is this one. But Rear Window is such a slow burn that when I was a kid, it was like, yeah, I was always told this is a good movie, or someone was always watching it, but not really paying attention to it because it's so slow in the beginning. But it wasn't until high school when I really appreciated its themes and what Hitchcock truly achieved out of this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting premise because you would think a movie that was all about literally I would say one setting, because it's just this you're looking at each other's back windows in this apartment complex, and that's where the setting is. And it's
and what's the camera setup on this? I mean, like, it's quite literally the film is almost entirely shot through Jimmy's window.
Yeah.
Right. Like the camera's always looking in that direction, very rarely the other way. Very rarely.
With Hitchcock, he rarely showed you the entire set. He never gave you a wide shot of the set until it was dramatically feasible. Yeah.
I mean, look at the detail though. Look at the detail of the scene. They built this set. That's just amazing.
And then that's a matte painting in the background. So
you
have the street, you have the across the street buildings, and then you have a matte painting behind those to give it that third dimension. But you only get this two-dimensional perspective from Jimmy's window until the very moment when he finds out he's indeed looking at the killer, which, spoiler alert for everybody who's following. But that's when the camera goes from subjective to objective to subjective, because finally we get the other half of this set piece, which is Jimmy's window. And it's just incredible that most filmmakers, what they start off with is a wide shot of their set to give it geography, but
and not only that, scale.
In scale, and Hitchcock doesn't do that. He only gives you enough to tell you to denote like where you're at, and that's it. I mean, you never even go across the street.
He
watches the strip. All you see is that little strip, and it's a restaurant window, and the best you get is like 150 millimeter lens on that window as she's being served. And that's about it.
But what's so great?
What's
so great is that they don't leave. The detail
on that little strip.
Yes, all the people walking by the restaurant, the people in the restaurant, all that detail, and you feel like you are literally immersed into this story, like you are there in that in Jimmy Stewart's apartment, and it's great.
And it is. It shouldn't even be ironic that this man of action who is stuck in his room, that the camera is also stuck in the room, and that it only gets more expansive as his interest in adventure gets more expansive, right? He's concerned about the woman. He's concerned about this guy. He's concerned about the couple. And his world expands almost a little bit beyond the apartment. It's the constriction thematically is kind of trying to force us into his shoes visually with the camera work.
Right. And what's funny too is the victim in all of this is also invalid just as much as he is. So they're mirror characters. She's bedridden just like he is. Well, she's not really bedridden, but who knows what's going on with that story, because she gets up at one point to mock and laugh at her husband. But they're both bedridden. And I've always looked at the building in front of Jimmy Stewart's window as windows into his psyche. And especially into his love life. I think Miss Torso is a combination of Grace Kelly's character, and then of course the marriage, the newlywed couple is there, and the lonely character.
It's a great contrast of what love, what real love is, what lust is, as well as not being you're seeing different loves going on, and you see Raymond Burr, and who we'll find out who he is, he and his wife, and then of course Miss Torso, who's we don't find out until the end what's going on with
Yeah.
that one, and then
Yeah.
Miss Lonely Hearts, and then the new married couple, and then contrast to that, here's Grace Kelly, who is obviously perfect in every way.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I really feel like she's
too. It's just it's like Jimmy Stewart has all of these terrible perspectives, so to speak, and he's so cynical because he's seeing this all the time that he is not grateful for what he has in front of him, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I truly think that Hitchcock set this all up to be Jimmy Stewart's character's psyche. You're
Mhm.
looking in windows into his psyche here. So when he discovers
It's all
or
about
actually
perspective.
when he discovers or he thinks he saw a murder or witnessed a murder, or maybe the wife is dead, it was right after when he practically killed his relationship with Grace Kelly.
Yep.
So these are all just windows into his like, and I truly believe Miss Torso is Grace Kelly, but Grace Kelly's job. You know what I mean? Because she's what in the movie a model, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think she's a dancer.
Or
Uh,
no. Grace Kelly's character is.
Oh, I don't know.
She does something in the fashion industry.
Yeah, she
I
does
know
something
that.
in the fan industry, and I think that's her mirror
She talks
opposite.
She talks about
Yeah.
sales meetings and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but yeah, the thing is, it's a perfect thing though, because it's great. This is all about perspective. This is all about looking through the lens, and really, really a lot of themes going on with this movie, and it's Alfred Hitchcock was just a brilliant man,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
artistically speaking too.
there are two things that resemble my life in this movie. One, he's a photographer, and he's in a wheelchair. So I don't know how many of you know that, but I'm in a wheelchair. So
Oh,
this
Oh.
kind of has a special place for me.
And you're a
Kinda.
photographer.
there you go.
Well, there you
I
go.
haven't been hit by a car, so.
Okay. Yeah, he's
Okay.
hit by a car tire. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that's impressive with Hitchcock is you get the entire Jimmy Stewart story from the opening shot when you see his pictures and stuff like that, and why he's in a wheelchair and why his leg's broken. And nobody comes
And
in and goes,
he was
"Hey,
exactly-
Jimmy, what happened to your leg?" And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you. You know, I was out there on the racetrack, and a tire fell off the car and smacked me." No one does that crap because that's so boring.
No.
You
Yep.
just you
and,
get it in
so
about
it's
2 seconds.
Alfred. It's about
Just
show and tell,
yeah.
and then you also get a little bit extra windows into who he is as a character. He fought in World War II with his pal, Lieutenant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
And
didn't want to go
and the Air
into that,
Force.
but you see, you get more and more detail as to why he is who he is, why he's cynical, why his perspective towards Grace Kelly and their relationship at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Jacob. We could
Robert-
just keep going and
Yeah,
talk
we
about
could.
this sort of stuff.
We should just do this.
Also,
Just have a
Robert
discussion about
Burks
it.
too. His Robert Burks. His just in this first little clip, it shows the outside, but then it kind of takes the camera around the courtyard
Yeah.
area.
Yep, this is brilliant. It's
Okay.
and it's a good way to set the mood, to set the film, to really get you into who are these people, what are their and they're all different characters. So this is brilliant.
And he's a pianist working on music.
And he's having trouble getting getting his music right. So
Yeah.
here's the couple who we were talking about earlier about
Yeah.
taking advantage of better, cooler weather outside because it's hot inside.
No, they're the ones with the dog, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
There's
The
Miss
little dog.
Torso.
Second best thing of this movie.
It's
it
funny
also-
about what's funny about the Miss Torso tosser is that it's only because of her window frame that she's at all erotic at all. I mean, a
No.
bathing suit was not any more or less revealing if she was
No
at
way, dude.
poolside.
Yeah.
When she
But
bent over for that
it's,
all
all
cucumber or
this is
whatever.
showing too it's showing open windows and curtains, and then it shows the temperature, and that says it all right there. You think, why don't these people close their curtains? It's 90 degrees and no air
They
conditioning.
don't have AC, y'all.
Yeah.
This is
In
what
New York-
people had to do.
Yeah. But to piggyback off of what Stephen was saying is everybody's window frame has a different frame to it, doesn't it? Like not every window has the same personality, let's say.
Am I mistaken, or was the pianist's actually long planks, much like a
It was
keyboard?
much like
Yep.
a keyboard. Yeah, it's like keys.
Can you imagine though the amount of
Groovy,
detail that?
man.
I know.
Whoa, dude, it's far out.
Oh, I love this. Here lie the
Yeah,
broken,
the broken
bones of
bones.
L.B. Jeffries. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that's the detail that Alfred Hitchcock was so into, like really establishing who these characters were by visual aid as well. And it's all show and no tell, and it's
Right.
just tells you immediately who these people are. It's just
Yep.
it's just brilliant.
Yeah, because the brain is much better at this than the mouth.
And
I'm
then-
sorry. Look at this. It's like we just see the camera. We know.
We
Yeah,
know.
we
We
know.
know who he
Hello.
is. We know who he is, and what this is like his mentality, right? He's got a broken
It's
mentality.
his whole life. His whole
Mhm.
life is that camera right there. It's
Right.
Mm.
and this is what he was used to. Was this?
Yeah.
There it is. That's what broke him.
Yep,
The
exactly.
wheel.
So and you can tell too. So that definitely establishes his character right now. He's a photographer. Obviously, he's been in an accident. That's probably that photo that really won him an award or something amazing. But that's what also cost him his broken leg. But it shows that he lives in danger because of his job. So that's
Yeah.
what he's so used to. So you already are feeling in his who he is, and then when you hear his cynicism and his like grumpiness, it's kind of like, okay, so he's so used to, he's a man of action and man of being in the action and getting the action and recording it, that he's just you can understand why he feels the way he is. Now, is it right? Not quite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And he's talking to his police friend, or his actually war buddy.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Is it Lieutenant Doyle? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think so.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably who wrote that message on his leg. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah, because he only has one friend because he's such a jerk.
Yeah. Got people sunbathing on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks up and the helicopter guy.
Yep. Well,
That's pretty bad. That was a pretty bad special effect there, because it was totally on blue screen and they just zoomed into the helicopter. It just looked really bad. Like rewatch that scene and it's not a good look.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Totally
it's
a
bad.
plate just floating in
Oh,
the
yeah.
background.
Yeah, it's totally a
Nice.
plate floating in the background, and they zoom in on the helicopter to make it look like because it looks like it's landing on a roof. Like, why does somebody have a helicopter landing on the roof in the middle of New York? This is ridiculous. This is Trump Tower.
Job.
Um,
Trump Tower.
oh my gosh.
like, really, you're going to take a helicopter that close down to the buildings, you know?
Yeah, man. Miss Torso's in her building. She's not outside, so I don't know why he's getting that close. There she is.
It could be like a news, or I don't know, because it's so funny, that helicopter reminds me of the helicopter that was used in Adam West's Batman.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
for
it
sure.
probably was the same model. Yeah, that
It
dome
probably was.
helicopter. Yeah.
No.
You
You
know,
think they
I-
have
the-
sharp
the-
propellant in there?
Probably.
You know,
Right.
Mrs. Miss Torso Tosser was Torso Tosser was the bit in Die Hard where he looks across the office and
Oh,
sees
yeah.
the girl. Was that a tribute?
It might be, because I never figured out that one little bit out. I never
mean,
figured out why they left that in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like he's distracted for like 3 seconds and he's just like, all
Right.
right, gotta get to work, gotta get to work, gotta get to work.
They were just establishing his ADHD.
I guess.
Like,
I
I'm in
don't know.
danger, but first, what's that over there?
And you get
Oh
your
yeah,
first
Dred's
shot of
got it.
couple.
And we have a very unhappy married couple here. Husband who
Yeah.
obviously caters to his wife, and a wife who is quite the nag. So
I don't know the make, but it's a Bell helicopter.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is or anything.
Gotcha.
I like that he's got the white hat with white hair underneath it.
Yeah.
It's like he always wears that blue suit.
And it makes him stand out too in a way, but it makes him look, plain. He's not, he's just an everyday working man
Right.
type. And obviously with age and just not really, not really like extraordinary type of life. So there's that. But you can tell it's so funny because I was watching this earlier to kind of refresh my memory on some of these scenes and lines and everything. Because I've seen it like a million times, but of course you want something fresh in your brain to talk about. You could definitely tell that it like the hair is kind of spray dye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's Raymond Burr and his hair was dark. Yeah, it was basically black.
It's probably the other reason is so the cameras can pick it up a lot better.
Very true.
Like because if they left it black from that far away, it might bleed into the other blacks. Like when he would step into her room, his hair might bleed into the wall, and it looks like he doesn't have a head.
That's very true.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah, there's this is something I was kind of talking about a little bit backstage, but I'm going to keep echoing it through this whole thing. This color palette is so unique. In this whole time period of like the late to mid 50s, early 60s, color was doing something very, very different. If you notice, the colors are almost flat, but they're not. The colors are almost painterly as well.
It's just like I said backstage, it's that Technicolor process of the cyan, green, and reds being processed over a black. I want to say it's a black and white stock. It's been a while since I studied it, but and so it gives that kind of painted feeling, like you said. It's kind of like an abstraction of color instead of this is what the color is. Your brain kind of makes it out to be like it's more of art than reality being shot.
Yeah. You're being told a story, and these are the snapshots.
And I like it too that the colors aren't vibrant. It's more you feel like you're in you can be in, you feel like you can see this world for you. It's just you feel like you can be part of it, like rather than because some Technicolor movies back in the day, the color, like especially like musicals, the colors were just so vibrant and they were beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but like this almost looks like this looks like the colors and the way it looks in my backyard type of thing. It's not
right.
It's not over the top, and it makes you feel like you're in this space. Like, oh, okay, this is like a familiar world to me. Like literally, this is my life. So
usually with Technicolor, the reds and the blues mostly pop,
and greens do get pop. There's a pop there too.
So all three of those colors like pop vibrantly, and everything else gets kind of flattened out in the background. But this one seems kind of muted. I wonder if in the post-production they kind of muted the colors.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe.
Because even the flowers there, they'd be popping out like crazy.
Like the reds would definitely be against those greens would definitely be flashing.
Yeah, I can imagine that the brick was probably overwhelming the image, and they had to tone it down.
That might be it.
These slides might be, on a newer. They might have done a redo of the fixing on it. So
right,
remastered to 4K or something.
Right.
It could be, and this is just a theory, so people can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe the way it's set up, we're talking about perspective of seeing through the lens of Jimmy Stewart here. Maybe this is kind of what a photograph looked like, or at least photos perspective in terms of color and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just making
nice try, Max. Nice try. Okay, nice. That was clever.
In photography, that was in its infancy too here in this
That's
time
true.
period.
Yeah.
So most things were probably shot in black and white for
Yeah, it's true.
photographs and newspapers
Yeah, you
and stuff.
you roll back the camera, you roll back the clock to this time period. You look at all the advertisings, and they were half illustrated photographs or completely illustrated images. Photography was just starting to come into its own because printing was just starting to come into its own.
I love this part.
Mhm.
She's like, tell him, "Oh, you shouldn't do that with the flowers. You should do this." And he's like, "Yeah, go away."
He's like, "I'm burying evidence, silly woman."
Don't tell me how to bury evidence.
This is probably one of my favorite characters in the whole film.
Yeah, me too.
I
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
she's great.
adore her. She's just like,
She
shut
was
the hell up,
perfect at-
smacking the side of his head.
She was so perfect in this role, and the way
Mhm.
she's just but the thing is, even her presence too in this, how she seems very tough. She's still feminine, but she's obviously has experience, and she's very tough and but she's matter of fact. And the fact it's like she surprises you, but not in a at the same time she doesn't, because it's kind of like, wow, I didn't, you get thrown off, but at the same time you're like, yep, that's expected from a character like this, the way they built
Mhm.
her up, and her visual and the way she carries herself. It's just fantastic.
I love the fact that she doesn't take any of his crap either.
Mhm.
She dishes it right back.
Oh
'Cause-
yeah, well, and deservedly so, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I think he likes
I love
in a
it.
kind of like matronly kind of way that he
Yeah.
appreciates it.
Oh, yeah.
I love it when she says, "Peeping Tom, they used to poke their eyes out with a red hot poker."
Yeah, well, we're not living in those days.
She's the nurse
I
that comes in.
I also love
checking
how
his
gross
temperature.
she get. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell she's definitely a
ahead.
nurse, where she's seen some things, and it's obviously doesn't bother her at all. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love the fact that you could tell that they've established some sort of relationship, because obviously he's been cooped up, and you're going to establish,
Yeah.
friendly relationship with your I mean, she's not really, I wouldn't say caretaker, but your nurse who's taking care of you. So
Yeah.
I also love how gross she gets when they talk about the murders and stuff like that. She's like, "Well, he better get that luggage suitcase out of there before it starts leaking."
Yeah.
I
right.
know exactly, and she says it with a straight face.
Oh
like-
yeah,
As he's eating.
right.
Well, I think he was drinking some tea or coffee or whatever, so he almost
Yeah.
choked on it.
You see, he should be getting
She's-
the massage from Grace
she's-
Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, to hell with that.
Yeah. He's getting it from Thelma Ritter instead.
She's got stronger forearms.
Apparently.
I can see him just grumping away about it too, and he's like, "Oh, that's I don't want her in here."
Yeah, she's too perfect. She massages me too perfectly. Like seriously, throughout the whole film, you're sitting there going, "So what's wrong with Grace Kelly again?" And his answer is nothing, and that's what's wrong with her.
That's right.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But this
I know
movie,
exactly how he feels. He's got bachelorism. He's totally bachelorized. He's
Right.
just
Yeah.
doesn't want to have anything to talk. Nope. Too perfect. Get that out of here. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Definitely will lure me into the whole marriage thing, and I'll be done for.
I love his growth throughout the movie, though. He realizes what he really has is really good.
he's got a woman to dote on him, even though she dishes
She's-
or she throws it in his face. And then you also have Grace Kelly. So he's got it made.
Yeah,
And he's
pretty
got
much.
wonderful entertainment out the window.
Yeah.
See, look, that's a happy Jimmy Stewart.
I know.
I wonder how I can mess up a relationship with Grace Kelly.
I know. Don't. It's like what a smart man would want to
Right.
mess up a relationship with Grace Kelly. Come on.
Grace,
I love
Princess
it's
of Monaco,
I
Yeah.
know.
Kelly.
And she
I
even
love how
looked
they're
beautiful
setting
as she
everything
aged.
up too with the. I love how they're setting everything up here with the flower bed and the dog.
Yeah, and that's all they needed to do was just lower the dog in a basket down by the flower bed, and then on top of that have the our villain mess with the flower bed, and that's it. That's all you need to set that up to know the geography at all of it
Mhm.
all.
You know
You
what I
don't need
love
a
about,
giant wide shot of the entire set.
or like a close up or anything. And I love the fact that you're right, Jacob, is that the flower bed is the only place with a bunch of color, and everything else looks kind of muted and like normal
Yeah.
or whatever. But it definitely draws your attention and your eyes to the flower bed. So
Mhm.
there's something there.
This dude later on is drained.
Yes.
She
Welcome.
drains him.
Hi, Samil. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
He
welcome,
just
Samuel.
he hangs out that window, cigarette in his mouth, shirt off, and he's tired, and he hears his name called again, and he goes, "Oh my god, I gotta perform again." Woman, I'm drained.
I love
Holy
this.
honeymoon, Batman.
Yeah.
Kind of
I'm
looks
not.
over there with the corner of his eyes and kind of looks away. It's like,
Yeah, he's very embarrassed. So he's very embarrassed by the newlyweds, right?
I know.
Because
Well, it's
that's very close to that's what Grace Kelly wants, and that's exactly what he doesn't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that he splintered it. If this is his psyche, right? Like you were saying, that
Mhm.
everything across the hall or everything across the court is his psyche.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the things he thinks she wants,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and all the things he thinks he would react to, right?
Right.
Like, oh, that's me. Yeah, totally, that's me. And it's all at some point his head shifts, and all of these characters become externalized and become
Mhm.
real.
Right.
And
She also is constantly poking him in the ribs. You should marry that girl.
Right. Right.
Mhm. Like a good mother.
Yeah.
But the married couple is his fear of the future, like
Yeah.
him getting married and then him finally regretting it and resenting her.
Well, also and settling down and not, kind of not being able to travel and do more, and yeah.
Right.
I mean that's in a very interesting way. This is, Alfred Hitchcock really shines, what different gender instincts are. The man is an explorer; he wants to conquer and do things, and then you have the Grace Kellys of the world who, make things beautiful and a home and everything else, and that means settling down. So it's kind of there's definitely that contrast going on.
So basically, Jimmy Stewart was based.
Yeah.
Like, woman, you're going to hold me
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, well,
I'm a
he's
rambling man.
based, but he's also ignorant at the same time, because
Yep.
he doesn't expect her to be the action hero that she becomes in this thing. It's like, I'm stuck in a wheelchair, and yet this moment of action is happening quite literally just outside my window, and
Yeah.
I'm deploying her into this, and I'm like, wait a second, I've put this girl in danger because she's
Yeah,
so
right.
enthused to please me and show that she's capable of following
Yeah.
in my footsteps no matter where I go. And he's
Yep.
like, what have I done? What monster have I
Yeah,
created now?
right.
But she kind of called it, right? In the middle of the
Yep.
movie, she said, so I'm like the woman who comes in and saves you at the last moment. And he goes, yeah, you're like that woman. He's like, it's kind of funny how the hero never marries her. And she's like, shit. She's like, damn it. We're in this movie.
Her entrance into the movie too is great.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Oh my God.
And the slow-mo aspect is almost dreamlike too. It's like,
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
this angel that's really like that. Alfred Hitchcock knew what he was doing when he was doing that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that poor camera lens got fogged up all on its own. Nobody did anything to that camera lens. It fogged up all on its own.
Oh my gosh.
God, look at her. I mean, crying out loud. Holy geometry, Batman.
You really, I mean, and all of the costumes she wore, like
Oh, yeah,
she
every one of them.
the costumes were like this just cherry on top. She made the costumes. Basically. I mean, look at that.
See, that's
Good.
that's when we were a society.
Yes.
Women wore dresses and men wore suits or casts.
Or
People were more respectful to each other.
Yeah.
They were more respectful, and they also cared about who they were, and who not necessarily cared about who other people thought of them, but more like they cared about their confidence. And I don't know what the right terminology I'm looking for, but like they actually cared about what they looked like and who they were, and they were more at least for me, in my perspective, they were more grounded in who they were.
Yeah, I think the term you're looking for is dignity. That there
Thank
was
you.
a visible public dignity that was to be maintained in much the same way that you don't allow a broken window to exist on the front of your house. It just
Right.
You keep that appearance up so that we could all be like, yeah, we're cool. We're cool, right? We're cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
Your Sunday
immediately
best.
starts off with the nastiness. Instead of thinking, oh, she's really pretty in that dress. It's like, how much does that cost?
I know this is a really good perspective too, because we all automatically feel like, why are you talking to this beautiful woman this way? Like, as the audience, like, you're already putting into that perspective. And here she is, she's so gracious too. She's taking everything because she knows that he's miserable, but she's playing the womanly role, in that, like, she's not going to berate him until at the last moment, where it's like, hey, this is not fair anymore. Like, she gives him all the grace in the world, it's kind of benefit of the doubt. And then it's like, wait a minute, I need to stand up for myself too. This is not fair. You can't
there's
treat me like this.
there's also the kind of shin kicking kind of element in reverse here, where she knows him to be a grumpy fellow.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's this grumpy must mean she's doing something right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, look at that. Just simple pearls and red lipstick. And I know she has other makeup on, but just red lipstick and the pearls and the V-neck line there. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, I can't get past the eyebrows. I'm still stuck on her eyebrows, and she's just.
I can't get past the fact that the piano guy across the street across the parkway there has a party, and everybody's dressed like it's prom. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, yeah, they don't do that these days. You're lucky if everybody gets out of their pajamas by 3
o'clock. Can you imagine how hot that was? All those people in that room with.
But it was a party. It was a social event that you actually got dressed for.
Yep. Yeah. Can we bring those types of things back, please?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No half measures. Don't wear pajamas. If you don't want to dress up, then don't wear anything at all.
Or just don't go. Just period.
Right.
Yeah. Don't ruin it for everybody else.
I don't want you at my house.
Hey, can you
get out of here?
Can you at least put a pair of pants on to go to Walmart, please?
Oh my gosh. You talk about that. I've seen so many, and women are some of the worst too. Like, oh, hi, Squeaka.
Hello, Squeaka.
Hello.
What's up with them wearing just shirts and no pants? That's the crazier one. It's like you left the house with a shirt on but no pants.
I mean,
now what drives me crazy is I see, because I go to a Starbucks and across the street is like a gym, right? So I can't tell who's dressed to what level for what reason, but women are completely comfortable wearing superhero pants. And there was a time period where if you drew a woman like that, there was a problem. And I'm like still stuck on this crazy idea that, well, I can't draw you like that, but the reality is that you look like that. So what am I supposed to do again? You look like a superhero, but I can't draw you like that because it sexualizes you. It's like, but you're sexualized just standing there getting your coffee. It's like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it anymore. It's like everything is there. You might as well be naked. Why don't you just spray paint your whole outfit on? I just don't get it anymore. It's so weird.
It's so funny. It's so funny with this scene too. Not to jump a little ahead, but like here we already know who she is. She's obviously
Yeah,
elegant. She obviously comes from very high class society.
yeah,
And then
takes
she not
everything
only
to the
that, but
nines.
she still, here he is, she could make a fuss about not being able to go out and do things, blah blah blah. But here she is, all dressed up as if she's being taken out to a nice restaurant, and she brings it with her to him.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you who she is as a person.
God,
She
she's
doesn't.
terrible. I don't want to be with her.
I know,
Ugh.
like you're too high class for me. And here she is. She's doing all of this because she wants to be with him, but have have something special too. And it's like
Mhm.
he's so blind in his grumpiness. It's like, come on,
Right.
you need
Yeah,
to
but
slap across the
she
head a little bit here, buddy.
I
Yeah.
could see her being the kind of gal that would be like bored to tears with one of those parties. Like I've been to so many of them, I'm just bored to death of those parties. And her arranging for dinner to be brought up on top of the dress, she was probably like, "Ooh, this is gonna make him so grumpy. I can't wait. This is gonna be so much fun." Because it's true, she's actually like stoking the fire the whole time. She actually adores it.
And it's so funny because when he makes like ugly comments of, especially with somebody brought it up, the lobster dinner or whatever, and he's like, this is all perfect. It's like the way he has the attitude towards it, and he's like, just like you. And it's like, well, buddy, she's right in front of you, why are you like being dumb about it?
Right.
I mean, you hear today, especially with some discussions today about like there's no, of course there's no real perfect woman, all this other stuff. But then I know this is a fiction and film, but it's like this is kind of the same. This sort of look, this discussion, this idea and everything is still the same right today, where people are just ungrateful of what they have in front of them, and it's just.
And but she too is also pushing him to leave his world and live in hers. Give up his world he lives in and come live with her.
That's true. But then when she leaves, and it's so funny because I know we're going to get to that point, but when she leaves, and especially when they pseudo breakup in a way, she leaves, and he's like, are you going to come back? And she's like, oh no, I love the question of is there going to be a future? And because she's right in asking that question. Why would she continue to be with a man who doesn't want to have a future with her, and he's just stringing her along? So it's really fascinating with it. And then afterwards he's like, are you going to be back? And it's like, buddy, do you not understand the conversation?
And she's like,
not for a long time.
Yeah,
not for a long time. Well, until tomorrow night. And it's really because you can tell where their relationship is.
Yeah, and she even says that too. She goes, why? So you can string me along even further?
Yeah. But I love Miss Lonely Hearts. She has a special place in my heart because I feel that way too.
But she gets a date though.
I know.
Yeah.
She gets a date. And then
she
blows it. And then she blows it.
No, yeah. She blows it. Yeah. That was
I don't
fault.
think she blows it.
What a dork that guy was. Good grief. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, this is funny. This
She's
is really
got, like,
funny.
3 dudes.
Yeah, so she's got like 3 dudes, but so Grace Kelly's character totally recognizes herself in this moment. She says, I know exactly what it's like to be the hen chasing off all the wolves, or something along those lines. So that's what made me think, oh, that's the mirror character for Grace Kelly. She says she's sort of in her own spot too. If you look at, she gets her own building, really.
Yeah, he says something about Miss Torso over there with the 3 guys, and he's like, well, how do you know about it? Well, you did say that her apartment resembles mine.
Yep.
See? Yeah.
I love how she throws it right back at him too with that comment.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of like, it's like, come on.
Like, I know you're looking. I know you're watching. You peeper.
Yeah, see, this is building up an early version of the trope of hard to get. That a lady sometimes likes a man that's a little hard to get. I mean, she knows that she's enticing. I mean, obviously, right? She must see all the men, in her life and her world. So the idea that he's desperately fighting her to be with her, right? It's like, it's got to be like almost like a wicked challenge. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I wanted
like
to point out this clip here. I've got the clip. I wanted to point it out.
She is so ungrateful. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right. So she's Jimmy Stewart on that side.
Yep.
But this is like, he's like thinking, I'm gonna give this one more chance. He's made her dinner. He's put a flower on her plate, on a glass of water, and he goes in there and props the pillow up behind her, and she just throws it all in his face.
Yeah. Doesn't she? Is this the scene where she gets up and like throws it in his face, and then and then she goes back in, like she laughs at his face, mocks him, and then goes back to the room and lays down. Yep. So he's pretty much watching what he just did to Grace Kelly's character, and he's totally murdering his relationship with her.
Exactly.
And he's seeing that now play out in a physical level. What he did. It's kind of like a replay of what just happened.
And his here she is, doting on him, like I think somebody said in the chat, like just folding napkins on, on his lap, like just really being a true, what a loved one will do for another, very selfless. And he's you're right, Copa. It's like a good mirror to what's going on, and it's a reflection again, like a camera lens. It reflects.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I get you. I feel smart now.
That's what happens when I have a little bit of wine. It's okay.
Oh, are you having one? Okay.
I think it's interesting too that the
Are you ready for this?
Oh yes, go ahead, Jacob.
Go.
There he is, the iconic cameo.
Yep, there he is.
I love he's spinning the clock.
I think I think my favorite cameo of his is North by Northwest, where he steps off the bus and realizes it's not a stop, and then he tries to get back on the bus.
Yeah. It's so
I was trying to find that one, and actually all I could find was the one with the star that he tucks inside of his jacket. I was trying to find the one you're talking about, Copa.
Right.
I love that one too. He's just like, don't! Damn it!
He's carrying like a big bass fiddle. He's like, and then the bus takes off.
Right.
Drats. Hysterical. I was noticing too that the reflection.
One of my favorites of his cameos is in what's it called? It's the one with Paul Newman, the Torn Curtain.
Oh,
is it
Torn Curtain? Torn Curtain, yeah.
It's like, if you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it. He's in a wheelchair, and somebody just leaves him in the wheelchair, and then he gets up and pushes the wheelchair off screen.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I need to watch that again. I never liked Torn Curtain that much, but I'll watch it again for that.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like Pops is in the chat. Hey, Pops.
Oh, hey, Pops.
Hey, Pops.
Oh, hey, Pops. Hey there, Pops.
Do you notice that in every scene, like, I don't know if Grace Kelly could ever look terrible. Like, she's
never looked terrible in her life.
No, she's beautiful.
There's certain angles you don't shoot people. You shoot actors and especially actresses in, especially like up their chin when they're laying down. But she kind of straddles herself over his lap and lays in his lap, and the camera's like shot up into her chin. And usually human beings that are mildly good looking to ugly will get a double chin doing that. Her, no. Still looks perfect. Everything's tip top. Yep. She only did like what, 15, 16 movies. Bounce said, I'm going to go be a princess of Monaco now.
Yep.
I think she was nominated like 10 times, right?
I think
one,
so. Yeah.
2 or 3 times.
Right
And
here,
then she
it
said,
continues
and then
the
she said,
nasty.
yeah. And then she just said, "Screw it, you can have Hollywood back. I'm gonna go do something else now."
Yeah, and Audrey Hepburn stamped her foot.
Yeah.
He just continues with the nastiness. It's perfect. Oh, it's just too perfect. Ugh, nasty.
Yeah, and
It's
the
like,
way he
what?
looks at her too, as if it's like a comment towards her, and
I
it's
mean,
like
come
here
on.
she is
Like,
providing a really delicious meal, and it's probably she probably bought it and everything. Just I'm like, dude, just enjoy the fact that you're having a really delicious meal with somebody who actually loves you. I mean, that's what a lot of people want. So, again, not being grateful for what you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's as unconscious as that. I've always assumed that being ungrateful was either vindictive or unconscious. And I don't think he's either of those. He's just being bratty. He's like, I see what you're doing. I get that this is a great idea, but it's like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. I want to go back to shooting cool pictures, stop being so perfect.
I want to eat rice and fish heads.
I know.
Yeah.
And then like when he's describing it, it's kind of like, I don't think you really want that anymore. The way he's
No.
describing it, it's like,
He's like, you want to freeze your butt off in a C-37 and 20,000 feet in the air? And
oh yeah,
it's like,
here we go, the conversation. Yeah,
Yeah. Kind of do. She's sitting there saying like, yeah, that kind of sounds like fun.
And he's like, will you shut up?
Yeah,
Well,
will you
It's like,
shut up?
and so and to the fact that he underestimates her willing, like there, people, you'll see this with people that you love, is that there are people who are really willing to step up to be with you, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously she's trying to show that to him, but he still has a blinder on or some lens on that said, lens again, he needs to lift the lens off to be able to be able to lift the lens off, because he still sees her as like, she's not, this is not a life for her, and it's like, and she's like, but I want to be in your life. So it's
yeah, right.
like-
And what's even
Lisa here brings up an interesting tidbit.
Yep, exactly. Yep, at the very end of the movie.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It-
if you
it
have
kinda-
if you have subtitles on, it will show some of the lyrics to
Okay, cool.
the song.
What's interesting with that song is that it builds that up. So in the beginning, it's like a couple notes that he can't get right, and throughout the picture, it kind of gets reworked and retooled, and him working on it until finally at the end, you get the whole thing played brilliantly over an orchestral piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really neat thing to, if you were paying attention to the music, you saw Lisa actually getting put together throughout the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the relationship falls into place too. So yeah, it's a good contrast.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels. I'm just realizing now too that if we're to assume that the area across the court is his psyche or their psyche or a series of minuets about their future, then the both of them suddenly realize that somebody's been murdered.
Yeah.
And they need to stop it from that. Something needs to be done and to bring this to justice, like their relationship. It's like they're witnessing a tragedy, and therefore they are coaxed into not allowing themselves to fall into the same trap of being a tragedy.
Yeah.
There's some meat on that bone, Copa. I like it.
Okay, we'll go with it.
Don't you patronize me.
And there she goes.
Yeah.
Well, it will be a while, at least until tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
So it's almost like they already act like a married couple too. Like here's
And he almost. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jacob.
It's in here. He's almost like, that could have handled that a little better.
Yeah. Well, because he already asks her, are you going to be back? Even though he's already basically told her, I don't want you I don't want you in my life because you're too high class for me. And it's like,
He's
what?
he's literally saying like, we have no future together. But by the way, how about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, let's just play it one
Right.
day at a time until we get bored of each other. Because eventually,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's trying to figure out if. I think he's waiting for her to be over him, and she's just not. So every day he wakes up and he goes, "Today's the day that she's going to be over me," and it's better if she just goes away. Like, there's no chance of us being married. That's why the couple across it scares the ever loving S out of him.
Mm-hmm. Both of them,
Right?
the newlyweds and the couple that
Exactly.
go the wrong way.
100%.
He has this misconception of what marriage is like, is that
Mhm.
you get married and you get worn out and you wind up like the old, you have the young couple, they're, just learning to live with each other, and they're getting, you can tell they're kind of on the edge, the young couple. And then you have the old couple where it's, it's at the end of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how he sees marriage.
He's looking at two extremes where, here's Grace Kelly, who's really, the perfect the perfect person for him, and that's putting up with his crap.
Yeah.
Right. You
Which,
notice
I
too
mean,
that
and
the
and
blinds
in
get
many cases
closed.
in marriages, it's putting up with each other's crap.
Well, as you can tell, he's physically crippled, but he's also crippled in the relationship department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
Well, he has been for a while. He's been on the road, and before that, he was in a war. So
right.
he's, like I said, he's
Right.
like totally bachelorized
Yeah.
as
Papa's a
opposed
Rolling
to
Stone.
domesticated.
Yep.
This is where he gets woken up by the half scream.
like there was like a breaking sound and like a scream. Yeah.
It's funny. He quite literally just finished that interlude with Grace Kelly at the door, with Lisa at the door, and now the blinds are shut. Then he dozes off, and he's like, "That's nothing," like
Yeah.
the conversation with her, what's going on across the courtyard. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. He closes his eyes, and then there's shattered glass and a scream. And that's it. The rest of the movie becomes this externalized conversation about their relationship. Like, is she going to come to action? Is he going to be able to solve this crime in time? It's like, will this culprit get away? Like, will he be able to get away with, hassling Grace's character again? It's like, I really like how interlocked this all is. I've only seen the movie a few times, so this is intriguing to get into some of these more, I don't know, intellectualized film school discussions on it.
It's funny how, like, when you rewatch a movie like this, and how you catch another little detail, and it seems like it's a new detail all over, every single time. And it's like, no matter how many times you watch a particular film, it's like, especially with the level of layers that these types of films have, which makes them really good, because it's kind of, it challenges you as an audience member, but also is it's pleasurable too, because you get into the world, you get into the story, you get into the themes, you get into all of these complex layers of contrasts and everything else. And it's really awesome. I love it, because it's like, oh man, it's like something else I found out.
So this is a purely cinematic film, and it's cinematic because you have an immobilized man, and that's one part of the film. And then the second part of the film is what he sees. And then the third part of the film is Hitchcock showing you how he reacts to what he sees. But the fourth part of the film, so he's a voyeur throughout this whole picture. And we even have our takes on whether what he's doing is moral or immoral, about how much he pays attention to other people through other people's windows. But what's funnier is that there's a fourth part that a lot of people seem to skip over, and that's us, who are the voyeurs watching him.
Mm-hmm.
So it really
That's
is
true.
Our story as well, because we're becoming what he is as well, which is we're watching him react to things that he should be reacting to, and we're reacting to him as well. Yeah. So we're totally immersed in this story at this point as well.
Yeah. And just another couple of twigs on that fire is he's a photographer, so he's already been a voyeur. He was a voyeur before he was injured, and now he's a captive voyeur, only allowed to look at the windows outside of his own. But the other take that I had fairly recently was how similar that stacking of layers that you just mentioned is to social media and the landscape of social media, where we're voyeurs of voyeurs of voyeurs of voyeurs of voyeurs. You know, where we're liking something that somebody retweeted because somebody tweeted something that they liked, right? It's like all of those layers happening, and they're all in this movie. It's just the windows across the way aren't somebody's Facebook page or Instagram channel or whatever. They're literally whole people's lives.
Right. I think what Hitchcock is saying is exactly what you're saying is eventually we're all voyeurs. So, I mean, look at 4 of us in the panel right now, and then you have our audience and then people who are going to watch this later. And so we're all voyeurs to something that's curious to us. And I don't care who you are, but if you look across through your window, across another window, and you see a beautiful woman like Miss Torso naked and bending over to get her whatever out of the laundry, you're not going to look away. I defy anybody to say they would look away.
I mean, to be quite honest, as straight as I am, you can't help but keep staring because you're like, wow, I wish I could look like that.
Right. Or it's just
wow,
car
there's a naked syndrome.
Right.
Yes.
There's a naked person across the way from me. Well,
like,
I'm a lucky
that's
man
not
today.
something you see every day. That's really what it is. It's, well, golly.
Wow, it's not every day that I think I saw murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's something interesting too, is that this all stops being a game when the instantaneous reality of somebody might have been murdered gets thrown into the mix. All of a sudden, this is no longer social media. This is a reality. This is happening in the present, and they are at the forefront of that railroad car that's just barreling down the road.
Yes,
and it gets more and more perilous as well.
As a photographer, I want to point out, after you've been doing photography for a while, I do mostly wildlife and landscape photography, but your eye picks up on more things after you've been a photographer for a while, because you're always looking for that minute detail to focus in on your photograph. So he's noticing all these little things, like the screen. What was that? Then he sees him going out in the middle of the night, with his salesman suitcase. So
he said like 3:00 in the morning or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's picking up on all these little details of each, person across the way.
And what better person to be able to pick up on all of these little details, because he sees details through his photography. He has to be able to capture that perfect moment. So obviously he would be a perfect person to really pick up on the small, it would seem insignificant, like according to his friend, but he knows, wait a minute, this is not right. So this is out of focus and out of place.
Yeah.
He's also used to trying to capture continuity of context as well.
Right.
Like not just a single photograph, but a photograph that truly shows what just happened and what's about to happen, or at least the anticipation of it. Because there's single shutters back then. It wasn't like he could rattle off a whole roll of film like they do nowadays.
Yeah.
And
there was no auto
you
shutter.
You didn't have the instant camera either, like from, it just prints automatically, like from back in the day either. It's just like this is you had to do the work to be able to get that photo to come out.
And you had to know your camera, know all the right.
You
auto
definitely
anything.
Yeah, you had to look at the light and pretty much guesstimate and definitely know where your stops would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have to be your own light meter back in the day, pretty much.
Yeah, and focus pull as well. Like what really needs to be in focus in this shot can change the whole thing.
Because I guarantee you, whatever camera he's using, Jacob, you probably know better than I do, but it definitely doesn't have a light meter built into it. So he automatically knows his stops to get like a picture like this. Like if you wanted to shoot her like this right now, he probably would know his stops by rote, just so he could fire it off right away to get that real quick reaction without anybody noticing that he's looking at them. He's a true voyeur.
Here's an interesting series of questions for you, Jacob. How many of these shots would be difficult to shoot with a manual camera? I mean, film or otherwise, motion picture or otherwise. I mean, your familiarity with a camera.
Well, I have all the auto settings, internal meter and all that stuff. So it's a different animal, to shoot this way.
If he just had an SLR, he probably be. Anybody who's into photography today, if they had just a regular old SLR, they'd be lost, because you have to actually meter that light with a light meter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
The shot we were just looking at, where it's the very high glowing window, but you could still see some of the bricks on the outside of the building. To be able to capture that with a camera from this day and age must have been fairly difficult, right? You had to know the stock and all the stops, and you had to know the materials, because it was all physical.
Today, I can set my camera to take 5 shots at different stops. So you get the perfect, exposure.
Yeah, they have that. They have that on the iPhone now too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I forget what that setting's called, but you turn it on and it shoots 3 pictures, and then it kind of matches the middle of the 3.
Yeah,
it takes one at a perfect exposure, and then like 3 stops down and 3 stops up, and then it kind of tries to match it all up.
Yeah. I mean, look how hot that street lamp is on that guy's hat. Just that shot alone. Look how hot that corner of the alleyway is to keep our eye focused there.
Yeah, and it's so contained. Exactly.
It's amazing. It's so much detail. I mean, even the environment has some sort of is a character in this as well, if you think about it.
Another thing, he during this whole sequence of this guy going out in the middle of the night.
And obviously back then,
Jimmy Stewart is. I'm sorry, Jimmy Stewart is like the camera. He's half asleep, in and out of sleep, and his eyes are opening to catch these little, snapshots of what's going on across the way.
See, and a lesser director would be down there on the street shooting our killer from the back, and then let's say he runs through the alleyway to his apartment, and then the camera would tilt up to Jimmy Stewart watched him.
Right.
That is what especially modern filmmakers would try to do, because they wouldn't even think to say, no, we're sticking with Jimmy Stewart, and we're going to try to figure out how to make it interesting from his point of view.
I really miss that.
Yeah.
I really miss that in old cinema. This is one of my biggest praises for anime and the Japanese mentality, Japanese aesthetic in cinematics, is that they're not afraid to keep that camera where it belongs. It's in the observer of the themes, and that's it. You do not deviate.
You don't need to tell. Yeah.
Well, the audience is only going to get confused. It's like, well, who's shooting now? Why is the camera here? It's like, why do we need that extra luggage in our head?
Yeah. Nowadays, they would show the guy going into the front of the building up to his apartment.
Exactly. And then it would be, and then
your imagination. Okay, he's going to the front of the building.
Right. And it would be this wide sweeping shot too, and it just wouldn't work. That shot right there just tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. This is I love these shots because it gives you, it's a window to people's lives. I mean, just it's just, there's so much going on thematically, and this is to me a very artistic side of, I mean, I know he's very artistic in other movies, but this is very artistic side of Alfred Hitchcock and what he could prove even more as a director. I mean, just all these different layers are just, it's fabulous.
Alfred Hitchcock kind of strikes me as the type of director that if you throw something technically, if you say this is hardly achievable technically, like this would be super difficult to pull off, that's when his antennas go up and go, we'll see about that. So
Exactly.
so shooting from a single point of view, really outside of a window, and making it entertaining. We're talking about the guy who directed Rope and tried to make an entire movie out of a single shot, or make it look like it. So he's very fascinating technically, and just as much as artistically, because he pulls this off all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
He takes like these technically difficult movies and just presents them to you in the most simplest of forms.
Yeah, and North by Northwest does this too, where we're pretty much with him the whole time. It really doesn't wander too far away from his
really
center.
Yeah, and you really feel that adventure.
Yep. You're almost a partner with Cary Grant in that movie,
right?
Where you're just along for the ride.
And his total mistaken identity is a blink and you miss it. So if you truly didn't pay attention to how his identity got misappropriated, you were just as lost as he was.
Exactly.
You're like, who the hell are you people?
You're almost dazed and confused, just like him.
Yeah,
like,
I would go so far as to say that may be the only thing that makes Fight Club as magical as it does, is because of the placement of the damn camera. It's in Ed's head the whole time, right? We're viewing the whole world from his perspective. It very rarely deviates.
Right.
And because of that, we get this crazy isolation where the whole end of the film hits us like a gut punch. It's like, whoa, wait, what? Because we're him. The camera has made us him.
Exactly. There's only so many directors that understand point of view and where the camera should be. And what I'm saying is 98% of modern directors would never take that shot down the alley and leave it cramped. They would feel too uncomfortable. But Alfred Hitchcock is saying it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
Like he's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
we
just witnessed a murder, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We're supposed to be uncomfortable.
We're basically supposed to feel the same way that Jimmy Stewart is feeling. He feels uncomfortable. He doesn't feel safe. He feels trapped, and he can't get out or move. And it's your mind is going along with him. Where it's it's kind of like you hear this random sound in the middle of the night that wakes you up, and of course your heart is racing. That's the way Hitchcock is trying to make you feel here, because you're just like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, something, deep down instinctually something is wrong, and you don't know how to address it yet, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And you're right. This is Alfred Hitchcock says it's okay to be uncomfortable. Yep,
it's okay.
Right here, he's saying that the windows have been closed all morning, and she's like, well, they're open now. And he's like, oh.
And look at it. Yeah, that's
he's like, the game's afoot.
How many notifications do I have?
He's like, get back. Yeah, I love what he says here, what she says here. I've been looked at before. Well, not like this kind of look. This is a different kind of look.
I know.
Yeah.
And she, and it's so funny too, how she starts to pick up on things, and it's like, it's I don't know. I kind of, when I watch this movie, especially with her and Grace Kelly, and how they start to get excited into going into this investigation type stuff, and they get involved, and they're 100% all in. It's like I start to feel that way too. I'm like, yeah, go. It's like,
yeah. I don't know what it is about human instinct, and I'm just laying that down as a blanket statement because there are many non-humans among us, but human instinct loves being a detective. Where did those ants come from, and why is the dog barking? It's like we just love a thriller. We love a mystery.
Yeah, well, we're naturally problem solvers, right? We see a problem, and the human being naturally wants to solve it, especially if it's a mystery,
Yeah, but there's a thrill that gets an adrenaline rush, when it's like so many obvious parts, and you know that there's got to be a solution because reality is reality, right? That noise didn't come from nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Right. And your
Oh,
brain is telling you something's wrong. So of course you're
yeah.
going to want to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
He gets her
I
to
have
get
to
the binoculars. She's like,
Mhm.
trouble.
You're
I
not
love how
working
she's
again, are you?
I love how she's encouraging too, in a way. Like,
Yeah.
He kind of wins everybody over because even for myself at first, I'm like, dude, like you didn't witness anything. You just been sitting in a chair for 7 weeks. Of course you're going to go crazy.
you might, just like his friend Doyle
And-
says, you might have
yeah.
hallucinated or something like that.
Right, exactly. But he
here's
starts
another
winning
piece, though.
everybody step by step over.
He's cleaning out his case and putting his samples back in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another. Why did he go out without his
His
samples in the middle of the night?
Good grief. Gruesome.
And I like this. He's like, I better move back a little bit. People might be watching me.
Well, yeah. Now,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
guess what? Guess what? We are.
well, and
We're looking right at you, brother.
you
We're
know how
watching everything you're doing.
you know how I like how Hitchcock establishes this is that everybody sees each other and is notice. Well, actually, it's really just Jimmy Stewart who's noticing everybody in the back window. Do you notice that nobody in the other windows, they don't look out except for Raymond Burr in that instance, the actor who plays that character, and you can still hear people, like you can hear voices, you can hear conversations and all this other stuff. So you already have this establishment of, yeah, it's normal procedure. This is what it was back then in normal life. So you don't want to speak too loud when you're talking. And which is why later in the movie, Jimmy Stewart and the gang start to whisper because they don't want their voices to carry over the courtyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago when I had a discussion with somebody about that. It's like, why are they whispering? Shouldn't, they're in an apartment. I'm like, but
Yeah.
you can still hear all the other
Man.
conversations going
Yeah.
on. And it's like, you
Right.
don't want to have your voice carrying. And when
Those
your
undeclared
voice can carry,
details.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, do you not notice that you hear the conversations? Like even then, as a side note, because I had subtitles on, so I can kind of pick up on even smaller details. It would pick up on his conversations and have the subtitle of what that conversation was from the distance. So it's kind of like, okay, this yeah, normal behavior.
I was wondering if a surround sound version of this would actually point your ears toward a certain
That would be really
apartment that
cool.
voice comes from. That would be an interesting
I think
layer.
it does. I think they
Yeah,
they do image if I remember correctly, they do image the sound. So like
Ooh.
if the person is talking, like the party at the pianist's or the musician's house or apartment is going on the left, the left channel will play it.
Nice. Okay.
So I think it totally immerses you. But I just like the fact that they don't know Jimmy Stewart's watching them, but Jimmy Stewart doesn't know that we're watching him. And it's just, it's always this kind of psychological game. Like once you realize that you, the audience, is a participant in this voyeurism, that there's an added layer into this game that you're watching. It's just so fascinating to me. Because I guarantee you this was purposely done by Hitchcock. He wasn't sitting here going, oh yeah, like I forgot the audience is there too. No, he made sure that the audience, once they figure out that they're voyeurs as well, is an active participant in the story.
Right.
Yeah. He says here, just how would you go about dismembering a body?
Yeah.
And she's like,
It's so out of the blue and random too, because it's kind of like, what? Here they just finally got back together, after the night before where they're having a tiff, and it's like,
yeah.
Oh, and she's trying to make sense, trying to bring sense to him, like, hey, you need, let's, this, us right here, right now, present. We're, this is important, but he's just, his brain is already off, about the murder and everything. And she's trying to convince him. And I love her realization though. It is so good.
Yeah.
Her acting in that moment is perfect.
And she does a complete 180 from one line to the other.
Yep.
Like from one line, she's not believing him, and the next line, she's like, "Tell me all about it."
Well, she notices something, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, she notices the trunk with a rope.
Yep, it's right there. I think so. You're right, Jacob.
And she's like, "Start from the beginning. Tell me everything.
Tell me everything." Yeah, exactly. It's so good. She is so good.
I know I love Grace Kelly. Look at it. That's her. Yep. She's right there. She's realizing it because she's seeing the details. She's seeing the details like he does.
Right.
All I keep seeing is her glossy shoulders underneath those translucent shoulders. I'm good grief. And more pearls on top of everything else. Stop it. Just stop already.
She's so stunning.
She's
beautiful. She aged even like fine wine when she, further down the road of her life. It's just so beautiful.
She died in a car accident too.
I know.
Good heavens, England.
Not that kind of car accident. I think it was on the cliffs of Monaco, I think.
Yeah, still the coinky dink. Anyway. Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, I made some notes. Okay, less shoulder, less chest, more black, less white, right? Like she made the choice of the outfit. Like she went a little chicer instead of more playful than she did the last time.
And I love the fact how she's now a partner in his, not partner in crime, but in that sense of the term. Now she's a partner with Jimmy Stewart, and I love this contrast of all the windows are black. There's no light on, and he's just sitting there smoking his cigar or cigarette or whatever.
Lighting up a cigarette. I love. Hitchcock was so good about using just little details like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, he loves using little slivers of light with his villains, because if you remember later on, and Coen Brothers steals this idea from Hitchcock all the time. So when our villain here confronts Jimmy Stewart, he walks in from the hallway. Yeah, he walks into the shadows, but there's like this cut of light just right across his eyes, and then he says, "What do you want from me? Like, do you want money?" And then Jimmy Stewart sitting in the dark too.
Oh, this is the scene. This is the scene where he almost chokes on his coffee. It's really funny.
I don't have the coffee, but I have another clip from this scene.
Just where do you suppose he cut her up? Of course, the bathtub. That's the only place where he could have washed away the blood.
but she's smart. She knows, because it's like, where else are you? I mean, because it's a small apartment. Where are you gonna?
Right.
Where are you gonna do the? Because it's gonna be a messy deal. So,
but Jimmy Stewart's trying to eat his bacon.
Yeah. I just keep thinking about that scene in It's a Wonderful Life, and he's like, "Well, why don't you just pull up a chair and sit down?" Because she's listening so closely.
I like this part too, because he's so excited about the eggs and bacon and toast and coffee, and she just runs it.
But she's totally involved now too. Like everybody who comes into his little sphere of nut house here starts believing in his story. Like even his cop friend doesn't want to believe it, doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to investigate it, but he starts doing it. And even as he's investigating it, he's not liking it, but he's still doing the job of investigating.
Yeah.
There are characters in history. I mean, I believe everybody should be treated equally, but history has shown that there are exceptional people that we are gravitated towards, and we believe them because we trust them, and we don't know why we trust them. We just do. It's just something about them that makes us trust them. So it's either we have to admit that we're crazy for trusting them, or they're right. It's like that's how he draws all these people in. It's because they all know him to be a valid guy.
There's our newlywed husband whose essence is completely drained from him, from his wife. Yeah. She's just draining him.
Oh, he's like, oh my poor devil, the poor devil.
Again?
I
with
mean,
those
to be quite
arms.
honest, I mean, isn't this, that's why you got married, to do things.
No, I know,
Everybody's-
but
Dude,
look how the dude
heat.
looks like he went 12 rounds already.
It's hot out. Everybody's smoking cigarettes. It was like the kind of amplify the fact that it's hot or something.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody did back then. I mean, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people smoked. So, I mean, back then it was advertised that smoking was good for you, by the way. And what is it? 4 out of 5 doctors recommend smoking or something? Some of those ads. Oh, gosh, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, those were the ads. But to be honest,
Thanks for dropping by.
I think a lot of people smoked back then because it stopped a lot of craving for foods.
That's probably
it is
true,
an addictive substance, and because it was an addictive substance that didn't give you a high, you never realized how many you smoked. You just keep going. So it distracts you from your hunger. It puts a flavor in your, yeah. It was a lot more than just doctors recommending it. It's not like people read all those advertisements. It's yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, spoken like a true smoker.
And I love this. Like, this is a good framing here too, of realization that she has Jimmy Stewart's back. Like, she's looking in the line of sight with Jimmy Stewart as he's looking through those binoculars. So it's like she is part of the team. So it's a very good visual aid.
Mm-hmm. So that would make her Velma, right? And he would be Fred.
Stephen, stop.
Sorry.
No, Velma's not trashing him enough about his tiny pecker.
No, she.
Oh, well, let's not allow the
goes out
president
and
to.
tries to see what the name of the shipping company is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I love how she's like, I'll run out there and go find it, and she's already on board too. So it's like,
Yeah,
you kind of get excited. You get excited with her and Grace Kelly, and it's just because they're into it. They recognize the same level of detail. And here's his friend, Lieutenant Doyle, who's also just as much a cynic as he is. By the way, do you notice that?
Yeah.
but they're war buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking up these actors to see if they had served in the military, and the policeman
Jimmy Stewart definitely.
Yeah, he did. He's got an amazing military record.
He flew the bomber planes, and he saw many of his buddies blow up in front of him, which is why in It's a Wonderful Life, which is his first movie after World War II or serving, he's actually suffering a lot of PTSD in that movie. In fact, when he's going that maddening scene or whatever, they did a lot of people on set. If you read any kind of journals or stories about people there, they said that like his crazed look wasn't acting, that was PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So and Jimmy Stewart's an amazing man.
That's why they had to film the sequence with him and Donna Reed kissing for the first time. They filmed it so close because they were like, he's never going to go for it. He's never going to go for it. Even Donna Reed herself was just like, he's just not going to go for it. I can feel it. And he's like, don't worry. I'll put him really close to you, Donna. Don't worry. He'll go for it. He'll go for it. So they filmed it that way because it's like he had forgotten. And it was perfect because that was his mentality even in the film too. And there's a similar backstory and lore to the whole movie Harvey as well, where he was on stage for so long, and him doing the movie is like he's just walking down a country road. It's like a piece of cake at that point.
Yeah, this guy here didn't serve, but his first role was a military, education clip. It was called Easy to Catch, and it was warning the soldiers about STDs.
Wow. Okay.
So
interesting. Okay.
That was an interesting tidbit.
That's a war in itself.
Yeah. Sorry,
Wow.
I thought that was a
I'm just thinking about like the
funny.
Hollywood connection to that. Like, how many Hollywood guys saw that film for the wrong reasons? And
Oh man.
But
it's like, he's
but it's
handsome.
just, yeah. Oh,
Stop it, Steven.
okay.
Yeah, Hollywood hasn't
Uh,
changed, sweetheart. I'm sorry, but
no.
it's been like that
I
for a
know.
long, long time.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, I know.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart, when he first entered the war, was kept in the movie department, not the movie department, but
The
I don't know,
propaganda or the promotional.
yeah, no, the filming and stuff. I don't know the I forget what it was, but
Is it like a work for records and such, or
yeah,
okay?
but like
Yeah,
for the Hollywood part of the military, I don't know. It's weird.
but he ended up fighting because he was like, no,
Oh
this is what
yeah,
I start.
yeah,
And same thing like Clark Gable. Clark Gable fought too. He
Mhm.
saw action.
yeah. He was a
Yeah.
bomber pilot too, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jimmy
Yeah,
Stewart. Jimmy Stewart actually flew a mission over Vietnam too, bombed
Yep.
Vietnam, and
yeah,
he
it was a
retired. Shieldwall in the chat was saying that he retired a 1-star general from the
yeah
Air
brigadier
Force.
general.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't. I'm sorry, they don't make them like they used to.
Nope.
no, there's no way. Even up to Elvis getting conscripted into the army.
And that's
Uh,
what Jimmy
you don't
Stewart was originally wanted to do, was join the Army Air Corps.
right in this day and age, everybody would say absolutely not. I have to worry about my career, and you want me to go do what? Fight for my country? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
There's not
Yeah.
too many Pat Tillmans in the world this day and age. That's
No,
for sure.
No.
you're correct on that, Copa.
Yeah. And what was the name of that person that came out of World War II and turned into an actor?
Audie
The
Murphy.
guy, Audie Murphy.
Yeah.
There you
Audie
go.
Murphy. Yep, you're right.
Yep. Because of a war, but it was a different world. I mean,
Well,
not to
well, I
forgive
mean,
history, but there were a lot of wars to be involved in, and most of the politicians we deal with today have never even had a war to go to in the first place.
Yeah.
Nope.
And this too, you see the detective. He's already checking things out.
Everybody's playing in this little alleyway. Everybody gets played there, huh?
Hello.
Oh, Jacob.
Jacob, can you not
Yeah,
hear
I'm
us?
still here.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
But look, there's and
Yeah.
I love the blocking and stuff in these scenes, because if you go back to that frame, yeah, you notice the restaurant's full.
Yep.
Like they
Yeah.
have the restaurant full.
Look at all the detail too. Just the trash cans and the dirt on the sidewalk, and the beer sign, and there's just so much in this one, and you're right, the framing, and it's just so much in this little space. That's it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
the only part of the word of the name of the restaurant is just the R at the end. That's all you see. You don't know what that restaurant's called.
No, but I'm guessing it's Italian because they got that red checkered plastic crap that all of our Italian restaurants have.
Right.
He's a requirement.
It is. It really is. And the red candles. Red candles and the red checkered plastic tops.
Classic.
I love the little trope of his itching foot and his itching leg, and
Yeah, right.
Because he's got an itch to scratch.
Yeah, he's got an itch to scratch. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this conversation too. He's like, "Well, why don't you just go in there and have a look around?" It's like,
I need a warrant.
They would have my badge within 5 minutes.
Well, I love the fact that he's like, "Oh, the Constitution tells me not to do that." And by the way, a judge is going to laugh me out of the courtroom. Like, what?
Oh yeah. By the way, you ever heard of this thing called the Constitution? Maybe. Like, what are you talking about, Jimmy? I can't just go in there just because you told me to.
I love it. Totally love it. There they are on the
In the
wall.
mailbox, though. He looks in the mailbox and there's a postcard, from Mrs. Thorwall.
Yep.
But that's the thing too, is we would follow his investigation. a lesser filmmaker would follow him into the investigation,
right,
and watch him get stonewalled every little bit of the way. See there, he's got his little itch to scratch.
And it's funny, he gets this horrified look on his face when he has an itch. Oh.
Yeah. Anybody who's been in a cast understands that itch on your.
Yep. I had a broken wrist once, and that's not fun. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I was laid up for about 2 weeks with a busted hip.
Oh.
Yeah, and let me tell you, man. Yeah.
Ouch.
Isolation. And just when I was healing up, we got locked down.
Oh. Perfect timing, right?
Oh yeah, great stuff. Oh, it's fun all around. I love the reflection in the lens.
Oh, Miss Lonely Hearts.
I know.
Hey, Jacob, what size lens do you think that is? Is that a 400 millimeter?
Yeah,
is that a 400?
Probably close to it, probably.
Yeah.
I could see Kubrick drooling all over this movie.
He probably was when he was shooting what was this, 54? So he was shooting.
He was a young man. Oh, was he? Yeah. Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, he was total freak cameraphile.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if a 400 millimeter lens would get you in this close. I think it might even get you in a little closer from where he's sitting. Now I'm just being nerdy. Sorry.
That's what we're here for, to be nerdy. Right. It's
okay.
Yeah, Copa, I bet you could teach an entire camera class, an entire cinematography class just with this film. Because the lack of flatness in some shots are obviously his eyes, but when he's looking through that lens, the image needs to get flatter because he's looking through a piece of equipment. And it flattens the image because of the distance. I mean, that much I know from the old TV cameras.
Yeah.
All those images look really flat because they were long distance lenses. They weren't close-up lenses.
Is that a pizza oven?
That's what it looks like. It looks like a city, like an Italian, regular Italian restaurant. Like it doesn't appear to be like fancy schmancy. It's just more like
still mom and pop.
Yeah, your neighborhood Italian place.
Yeah,
and of course she's wearing that green dress.
Yeah, Jean Tortellini.
She's wearing that green dress, and there's no way we're going to lose her in a crowd with that green dress on, right? The camera is never going to lose her.
No.
On top of that, she might be wearing it because it's her lucky color, right? It's green. It's
she also has red hair, so that's probably a good contrast to it too.
Mm-hmm.
An Irish lady going into an Italian restaurant.
Hey! I'm quarter Irish. I have the last name to prove it, and I like Italian.
I've got some Irish in there.
Yeah, there's for some reason the Irish and the Italians just mix like wine and bread. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's like whiskey and bread.
I'm also Italian.
Whiskey and spaghetti. There you go.
Hey, it works sometimes. Some days.
I love this transition too. He's watching her, go into and then bam, he's there.
And then he's in focus. Yep.
Yeah.
Looking rougher. You see how he's not as polished. His suit is a little more wrinkled. His hat is a little more, I don't know, there's something rougher around the edges about him.
Eagle hand laundry.
Yeah, hold that box just like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Does that play into anything special? Eagle hand laundry.
I think it's just showing that he's, getting his shirts laundered and getting ready to.
Oh, okay.
Getting ready to get out of Dodge.
It's just one of those simple Hitchcock things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think, like you said, Copa, don't think that he didn't think about the audience thinking about whether or not that was going to fit in somehow, like collecting evidence. And now we're starting to get red herrings trailing off in multiple directions so that as we approach the beginning of the climax, we could experience a bit of doubt about whether or not anything happened at all.
And there he's got the precious, the
precious. The one ring to prove them all wrong. See,
parties kicking in.
Little cocktail bopping, and they're all dressed up like it's prom.
Yeah.
Like
I love it.
everybody brought a bottle of booze. Good grief. Look how many bottles are on that windowsill.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what you did. You brought something to share with the host and share amongst your friends.
I was
planned on drinking.
Well, I was always taught that you never go anywhere that you're invited empty-handed. So
yeah.
Same here. Too.
Yep.
And it's like if it's a husband wife duo, you get them both something. It's like
right.
Yeah, a plant for the house, always catering to the feminine side of the occasion, or a bottle of booze if it's a festive occasion, or
you can go into one gift and it could be like a nice gift, so that way both of them can enjoy. So.
This is a great effect, isolating the image like that with the lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like it's. Go ahead, Max.
No, I with Grace Kelly coming in, this is one of my favorite. She's very spicy in these scenes versus Lieutenant Doyle, and how she looks at him too with kind of like this stare downs, she does it in such a beautiful way too, which is astounding. Like she has a smoldering like kind of fire, look like she's shooting daggers at him, but she does it in such an elegant and beautiful manner. It's like, wow, how do you pull that off? That's such a contrast. But I love how prepared she is too. She's like trying to show off to Jimmy Stewart's character that I can handle this. I can do this adventure business. She can still look fashionable and be adventurous.
And she can use this net for her hair and face, and then use it to fish with.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, back then when people used to throw trash out of their window onto a major street, and ash was actually floating around because there were open campfires on a corner sometimes. One could imagine that a net across your face might come in handy.
Yeah.
Steven's describing the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
Styrofoam containers, and you threw cigarette butts out the window.
Long before styrofoam containers, young Padawan.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't go back that far. Look at that. She just stood on her mark and posed, and it looks natural anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mags, you were talking earlier about the older films and how there's something, it's beyond photographic because they're posing, right? They're almost caricaturizing themselves. Bogart, I think, is the best at it. Like when he strikes a pose, it's just like everything about this guy, just everything about him.
But she's so perfect in what she does, how she poses and everything.
Look at that face.
I mean, look at that. I mean, how do you not like that face? It's like,
and she dropped 15 years off her life just smiling like that. Do you see how cute her cheeks were? For crying out loud, lady, stop it.
Well, when a man loves a woman, right? Let me tell you, it shows. And I love how I love how adventurous she is with this. She's like, look what I have. I'm all packed. I've got a small little suitcase. I can
fit into a little corner of your life here.
I can follow you to the Himalayas, no problem.
Yeah.
We'll have to see about that. Okay. Okay. All right.
That's a good impression.
Jimmy Stewart went to Nepal. And people say that he smuggled out Yeti fingers.
What?
What?
It's just some weird feeling about Jimmy Stewart. It's funny.
Okay.
I did nothing of the sort. No, nothing like that.
I didn't do that. No.
Are you going to tell Jimmy Stewart, no, you can't smuggle Yeti fingers out of here? I don't think so.
Exactly.
Oh, these are Harvey's fingers. I don't know what you're talking about. These are Harvey's.
That Harvey did that. I didn't do that.
Again, Harvey.
With the Yeti fingers.
Oh my God, I could see him just pulling.
I haven't seen a
Look,
frame. I haven't seen a stupid frame of Grace Kelly yet because I don't think it exists.
Just
Nope.
wearing that lime, I swear to God, just that lime color, that pistachio is just, there's, very few people can pull that color.
I was about to say, how many women do you know could pull off a putrid color like that and look good in it?
Yeah. She looks floral in that color. And yet.
Yeah.
And then she
Oh my God.
And look at this top. She just looks so beautiful.
Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I feel just the same way Jimmy does.
Yeah.
Just stop it. Okay. Leave the apartment now. Go out.
Go
Off
away,
to bed.
please.
Go away.
Yeah, Shieldwall called it. Look how she packed all that stuff in that little bag.
Yeah.
She can hang. I think she can hang on his adventures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Well,
like, and
it's kind of like
she's,
she needs to prove to him that he needs to wake up, that she loves him so much that she will go to the ends of the world for him. So yep.
I love this scene, this whole scene. He walks in without saying a word. He notices the shadow in the kitchen and then notices the bag.
Yeah. And he tells what does he tell him? Watch what you say next, Doyle, or something
there,
like that.
Tom. Careful there.
Yeah, be careful there.
Yep.
yeah.
They're
There's a
all
party.
smoking and partying.
This woman looks like she's asleep, just leaning.
There's always a couple at those parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't know. I'm starting to get to that point too.
She's become exhilarated because it's like almost as if when she walks into this room, she's like, I've got this whole thing figured out. I know exactly how to win your heart, young man. Like she's prepared. She's ready for action. She's whatever you want me to do. I'm there for you. It's like, if this is all I have to do, right? If this is all I
love
have
how
to
he
do.
looks. I love how Doyle looks at the bag with the special frou-frou, pajama set or whatever, and Jimmy Stewart's look there. He's like, "Don't say a word."
Watch it, Doyle.
Careful, Tom.
Yeah, but he says something along the lines of. Jimmy Stewart said something along the lines of like, "Well, he wasn't telling his landlord this, that, and this," and Doyle here looks at all the accoutrements coming out of her bag, and he says, "Do you tell your landlord everything that you do in here?" and then he goes, "You better watch it. You this close to getting punched by a man in a wheelchair."
Yep. I mean, look how she's looking at him too. Like how that framing there in that picture, how she is like a partner in crime with Jimmy Stewart's character. Like just she is right there with him in the thick of it. So I love it. It looks so cool.
Yeah, and need I remind everyone that in 1954, this was a slightly shameful thing to be caught doing.
Look at that
being
face.
in a man's house, prepared to sleep over, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'm with Jimmy on this one. Don't you dare say a damn word about this. Like, you keep that lip zipped, young man."
If looks could kill, look at this look.
Hitchcock was always pushing that sexual limit and boundaries post World War II.
But it was also very subtle.
Exactly.
It was, but these types of films, it was more subtle, and it wasn't like in your face about it. Like, oh, they're would do whatever. It's like it's kind of like the audience already knows what's up, but it's not annoyance. In a way.
Yeah, no, it's never in your face. It's more suspensefully erotic. He'll shoot like a romantic scene like he would a murder scene. So it kind of like builds up that tension. Although it's kind of funny that when she first enters the movie, there's no build up to romanticism whatsoever. She just kind of floats in like a dream and kisses him, which is really nice because it kind of skips all that sexual tension, and maybe that's because there's not much there to be had between them. It's kind of interesting.
Well, and that could be an interesting approach, but also just like Hitchcock, show no tell. So
Yeah.
I mean, immediately within 10 seconds of that entire situation, you already know who she is. Like
Yeah.
you don't even
Yeah,
you don't even
we just got finished with the whole minuet around his photographs and the props in his apartment. And it's almost like, okay, here's this guy. Yeah, this is what this guy is about. And this is what this guy is about. Oh, and then there's this thing right here. Grace Kelly, walking in the door. This is the other problem.
Funny.
This is the other
angel.
Right.
It's like
this is the other thing going on.
This part here, he tries to chug his
yeah,
drink.
dude, what a dork.
He spills it on himself. But it's like Grace Kelly has him in the hot seat,
Yeah.
And he's nervous and he spills his drink.
Well, because she's also shooting him daggers, and she's so beautiful doing it too. It's like I would not want to be on the other. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, because obviously it's look at that look. It's enough. It's enough to say, look at that, and even that framing, how she's a partner in crime with Jimmy Stewart. Like she is.
They both have their back toward him too.
Yep, it's so good. I love it. It's it's such a good dynamic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's probably got a little thing going on in her head too, like, don't you dare mess this up for me. I'm doing really well here tonight.
Look at her face too. She's like, I'm jealous. She's like that defiant chin raise a little bit, like kind of like establishing that, trying to be, I know it's a pride thing and being defiant, but also it's a matter of, I'm going to be strong even, up against you. So I'm not going to show my weakness.
But this is the closest she's gotten to him the whole movie, right? It's like this is when they
other than them kissing.
We see them as a couple now.
Yeah. Well, you see them operating together as a couple at this point.
Yeah, naturally, like organically operating as a couple, and here comes Johnny Law walking into the room, and she's like, "Don't you dare! Don't you dare!"
Yeah.
And we're gonna, yep.
So Jacob, so Copa, the party, the piano room party. How does this fit into your paradigm? This in the movie.
Chaos.
Well, yeah. There's a bit of chaos in there, but so it's kind of dichotomous with the investigation party that we're having in Jimmy Stewart's apartment right now, right? So. We're having the detective, the girlfriend, and Jimmy Stewart all getting together and having a little investigation party as well.
Right.
So that it's kind of dichotomous in that way.
So Miss Lonely Hearts has this guy back, and he gets a little too frisky, and she slaps him, and chases him out.
He
you blew it, lady.
He pushes her on the couch, and he forces himself onto her, and she's like, "This is not what I want," because she wants somebody who's going to respect her.
And then he said, "Whatever, have fun with your cats, I guess," and then left. He's like, "Well, another cat lady loses."
I like this too. It's like they're realizing these are people's lives that they're intruding.
Well, they both feel. They're both very ashamed of seeing something like that, because it is, unfortunate, and they're seeing somebody's emotional distress, and it's like that's a very private and personal thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
she's to go with the psyche parallel as well, that there's a little bit of that, kind of kicking around their room as well. That's like, am I here for that? That's not why I'm here. Is that why you think I'm here? It's like. Because they just had the whole thing with the negligee hanging out of her bag, and literally the cops in the apartment. It's that whole minuet here that they did.
She just lays her head over his shoulder, and he just touches the side of her face.
It's a very tender moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of the opposite of what we just saw, or maybe
exactly.
Maybe she wants him to jump her bones like that, but he just can't because he's in a cast. I don't know.
Copa.
I don't know.
God.
Maybe she's
Well.
just like, come on, it would be fun. But you can't because you're broken.
There isn't a single line broken on her. I can tell you that. Good grief! Now what?
Get out.
I love how when when she first displays it, she's like a preview of coming attractions.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
She is so good at being very seductive a little bit, but not in a very. It's more of a flirtatious manner rather than just being overtly like sexualized. It's just more like
she's not nasty. She
wants being a woman.
Yeah, she's
Right.
not being nasty.
Yeah,
She's
she's not an OnlyFans girl.
seductive.
She's
There's a
No
difference between
twerking.
there's a difference between being seductive and being just a plain out hoe.
Yeah.
She's not
Mhm.
that.
yeah.
And
Well, wow,
This
that's
is-
some dress you got on there.
And this too transitions into she shuts the curtains, and it's like this is just us, our private moment here. But then it gets cut when the lady screams. And
Yeah, what
somebody's
was it?
killed
Because of
her
the dog or because of Miss
It's
Lonely
funny.
Arms?
This is the only time where they close the window and something horrible happens.
They
I mean,
miss
obviously
it.
the murder happens, but then they miss it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
he's
But then-
missed
but
he's
then-
missed both the murder.
Then
He's missed
Thorwald,
both murders actually.
yeah.
Yep.
Then Thorwald really messes up and kills the dog.
Yeah,
Don't-
he
Yeah, this
kills
is-
it in the open like that too. I mean,
Yeah.
the dog should have vanished if he was smart.
Yeah, I mean he vanished his wife, but he doesn't have enough common sense to vanish the dog.
Yeah, especially after receiving a phone call that was allegedly blackmail. Come on, guy.
Well,
You're
and then
panicking.
if you think about it too, with the death of the dog, that really solidifies both Grace Kelly and Jimmy Stewart's characters into like, yep, we got to get this guy because
I think this.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go
This
ahead, Copa.
shot here
No,
too.
you're
Oh,
good.
go ahead. Sorry, Copa.
Oh well, I was going to say I think this is the first shot that we get the geography of the right frame.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is the first time we get this.
The only thing they've shown over here is the apartment, the pianist apartment.
Yeah, the
The
pianist.
what?
Yeah.
The pianist.
The pianist.
Penis. Got it.
Copa.
I can't help my ears.
Oh gosh. But yeah, this open shot here too. Everybody's lights on
Mm.
except
Mm.
that one.
Mhm. Right.
It's
Yeah,
almost
which is
the
great.
center of the frame too.
hmm Yeah.
He's like, and homie here is like, finally, I get a break.
Copa.
The dancer.
That's not a good look on you, Copa.
Well, I'm just saying, like, the dude is trained. You got to give, he's got to have at least a breather between rounds. He gets out, he puts his head out the window and has 2 drags of a cigarette, and she's calling his name again, and he's like, oh my God. Like, there's not much more I can do.
Little point of light.
Yeah.
Cigarette.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
I wonder if he didn't do it out of ignorance, but he did it as a threat.
I don't know. I didn't get that feeling. I felt like it was just more like he killed the dog and then maybe, I don't know. Because when
He's
he
sitting in that
confronts-
window with the cigarette, as opposed to
Well-
gawking out the window like everybody else, he knows that Jimmy's looking at this point.
no, not yet. If I remember correctly, he doesn't know until the cops are
doesn't know-
there.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Hmm.
yeah.
But when he comes into Jimmy Stewart's
He doesn't know
apartment at the end, he doesn't seem like a threatening dude. He doesn't like this because he asked
No.
him like, "What do you want? Do you want money? I'll give you money. Is that why you're hassling me?" So he doesn't. It doesn't seem like a threat to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here he figures out the thing with the roses. That it's
Yeah.
the roses are shorter.
No, what
So he's
exactly
taking a
is this?
picture of this
It's
what-
very subtle for a normal.
Yeah.
You know,
But
What, the
what is
device,
this?
Copa?
Yeah. What is this device?
It's got to be something
It's
where there's a mirror in the viewfinder that looks at a slide, then looks at the outside, so that you can do comparative photography.
No, okay.
You know what I mean? It's like that's what I'm thinking. That he's looking at a slide in the view
Yeah.
in the ViewMaster.
And then when he switches over, it's what is out there right now.
Right. So you could
Okay.
line up the framing of a shot and get the same
Understood.
shot again for time
Yeah.
sequential.
Oh, totally makes sense. Okay.
Nowadays, they would just do it with a monitor layover, you know, like a transparent layover through a monitor.
Yeah, so they finally they make some contact here. They send a note.
Does he have to write it like a psycho?
I like this shot here. She's like, hi.
Yeah, she's like, hi. Huh. A psycho just put this under my door.
Mhm.
Why didn't he cut this message out from a magazine clippings like normal psychos
Yeah.
do? He scribbled it like a 5-year-old.
He was writing
Thank
it
you,
for the
Mr.
camera.
Mr. Tickle Trunk understands. He writes like a 10-year-old. Old caps. I'm surprised the R wasn't backwards. Like he was writing a
Yeah.
Korn's album
He
cover
needs
or
more
whatever.
schooling, you know.
Yeah. Well, you photographers, they're not good writers.
No.
Wow. Is that the first time he's handed the camera over to another character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is my
Everybody
gun.
else has gotten the
can't-
binoculars.
You can't touch my camera. It's my camera.
I would really like to know what model camera that is.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think it's a Leica.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well,
If it-
I will take a quick
I
look.
wish it had the name there.
Yeah, it's almost like they took that plate off so they wouldn't
Yeah, right.
act like they were sponsors or whatever.
So Miss Lonely Hearts is taking some pills.
Uh-oh.
Mhm. I love it. I love how in this instance too, if you think about it, you know, that you had the one instant where oh no, don't go to that scene yet, Jacob.
Okay,
But
all right.
I love in the instant where, you know, they had their moment of maybe we shouldn't look into somebody else's life. But then at that instant where Miss Lonely Hearts is thinking about taking some pills to do something, I love how the nurse is like, we should call the police. You know, that's, you know, in that instance, it's kind of like it's a very nuanced way to look at, like, is it ethical to really see into somebody else's life, or is it, you know, should we be a good human being to our fellow man and help each other out in this instance? And it's a really interesting contrast to that. But then with this scene, I love, like, she's just so gung-ho and you know, excited to do this, and then, you know, the fact that it's like right in that instant, like the next picture over, the next frame that you have Jacob there of Jimmy Stewart just admiring her enthusiasm, like he you know he's in love with her right there, like
That's
100%.
It's the same look I have too. Just wow. Just Grace Kelly on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an Exacta.
Exacta VX is what you said in the chat.
Yep.
Okay. So Jacob, is that like a normal tripod for somebody in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Is to use your knees?
Use your knee. Yeah.
Okay.
It can work.
That's also a sniping position or a long range
Yeah.
rifling position as well. You would lay down and run one knee over the other and use it to prop up the rifle.
Yeah.
What's he getting out of the purse here? I can't remember.
I thought some rings, wasn't it rings early?
Yeah.
We find out later or something.
And you know, each shot too, his hair looks a little more disheveled.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. He's not as well dressed. He doesn't have a jacket on. He's just
He's got a
He's like,
note.
"Where's my precious? I put it in this bag, my precious."
He's got a note from he's got a note from a 10-year-old that says they know what he's doing.
Right. And he starts reading the letter out loud to himself. What does it mean, precious? I don't know. It seems to be words on a page, precious.
So they want to get him out of the apartment, so they give him a phone call.
Yep.
Right. They set up a meeting or something, right?
Like he stares at the telephone for a long time before he answers it.
Which is telling all by itself, because allegedly his wife is in another part of town, right? So wouldn't he answer the phone if she was really somewhere else?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. At this instant, because of the death of the dog, that solidly confirmed in their eyes that he's definitely the murderer. Yeah, they just need to be able to get him. They need to get evidence, which is what they're trying to do here.
Go out.
And this is what I love, is the fact that Grace Kelly's character volunteers to infiltrate the
he's
crime
got
scene and
proving it to herself and him.
Yeah, so what we got here is Jimmy Stewart's character. His weapons of choice is his work. So he uses his camera to spy, and then we're going to later learn that he uses his flashbulbs as an attack weapon, or at least a defensive weapon. Which is,
that's a very smart idea and move, because especially when we go from the dark air, lighting to a really bright flash like that. Of course, we've all been through, getting family portraits and stuff, and you get that bright bulb. It's like, it's like
right.
Yet there's a reason why there's a such thing as a flash bomb.
All right, digging up the roses.
These two ladies, God, these two ladies are the best. Look at them. They're down there with a shovel. They don't even care if Jimmy's interested in the whole thing anymore. They're totally on board.
So he calls Tom.
But he's off to dinner with his wife, so he left a message with the babysitter.
Right.
Poor babysitter.
Did we already explain this? Because I miss it every time. How did they get his number? Was it the investigator that gave him the number, or
they looked up his name in the phone book?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Back in the old days when that was actually
they had this thing called a phone book.
I know. Remember those days?
Yep.
I remember. Yeah, I remember them being doorstops.
The thing I used to sit on to raise myself higher to sit at the table.
The thing that was a plot point in Terminator. One of those.
Oh
things.
Hey,
Sarah Connor.
Yeah. I can just see the Terminator.
In order to gain a few extra bucks, a long time ago, my mom and my brothers and I, way before school, so it would be early in the morning, we'd deliver phone books.
No way.
Yeah,
that was a real thing.
Yep. We did it in the van. I remember. I was part of that ride, and then the next thing you know, she'd drop us off at the school after we were done.
I used to work as a graphic artist for advertisements in the Yellow Pages. Made a good amount of money doing that until the Yellow Pages vanished.
Yeah, disappeared. I can see the Terminator picking up a smartphone and searching Sarah Connor.
That's true. Yeah.
He would just jack into the internet now, right?
Yeah. And he'd be like, 20,000 hits? There's no way I'm going to complete this mission.
Actually, no. If you think about it, he'd come back and he would have all the all the informational data banks
Right. Yeah, because she would have a Facebook page or some nonsense like that.
Right.
Her face would be available.
Yeah. Oh, what a time we live in.
Yes.
How boring. How boring.
Uh-huh. No, it really is.
Yeah, it is.
See, it's
She's
like
looking up. There's nothing in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get evidence. So of course they're going to see they do the most obvious, which is what they saw with the flowers. And now Grace Kelly's like, well, let me get into his apartment, and it's like, look at she's showing she's showing a lot of courage by doing this.
Don't do
I love
that.
it. I just love it.
And
she's doing it.
And then look at it. She's in a beautiful gown. She's in a beautiful dress. Yeah,
she's in heels. And you know what? He made that quip of like, how are you going to hang with me with those heels on, traveling through a jungle? And look at her. She's like, this is how.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have the clip.
Was that really her? Was that one single take of her climbing up the ladder and then climbing into the window?
So. I mean, it could be a stunt woman doing that. I guess. They had stunt woman back then.
I'll have to watch it again, or I have to look that up.
And regardless of what you may think, that's actually a fairly practical dress for what she's about to do. It's like a very heavy material. It falls very strongly, right? It's almost like a.
It's not too short
curtains.
Where it won't. Yeah.
It's
not too short where it's gonna fall up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or rise up. Yeah. Rise up or anything. It's comfortable and it's flowy enough where it can give her proper flexibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at this. She's like, there's nothing here.
He's like, God damn it.
Oh.
Strike two. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, she did it. She actually did that stunt.
Did she really?
Yeah. It says this was only her 5th picture. Miss Kelly did her own most notable stunt work in Rear Window, he recalled. I don't know who they're talking about. In a role that required her to climb from a fire escape into a 2nd-story window. She really did that.
Good for her. That looked like a one take too.
Yeah.
So good for her.
That's yeah.
Like they see her.
It was the way she bent down into the window that made me think it was really her. She did it very gracefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, her name is, Grace.
I know. I'm pretty sure that's where we got the name Grace was from her name.
Right. She became the personification.
No, that famous Lonely Hearts. They're ready to call the police. When all it like happens at the perfect moment and the music stops her from, taking the pills, but they've already got the police, ringing on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
he's finally gotten his song and everything. This is like the climax of what's going on in the movie. Like everything is coming together in terms of the music. Now there's real stakes and danger here. Then somebody else, Miss Lonely Hearts, isn't also in danger until the music stops her. So
now here's the classic Hitchcock suspense. Cinematic irony is going off the charts
something
here.
That you don't have any control over. Can't
do anything. And the cut back to Jimmy Stewart's reaction is very real. Like the grabbing of the head of like, I can't do anything. I'm in this chair. I'm stuck here. What do I have at my I'm about to watch my girlfriend get murdered, and there's zero chance of me stopping it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I noticed something interesting. There's a parallel. Miss Lonely Hearts is wearing the same lime green. Her robe is the same color as Grace's previous outfit.
Interesting.
And this is the moment where she finally comes through and shows Jim that she could be, and he's like, I've put this girl in danger, and he really feels for her. It's like everything's coming together. All the pieces are coming together.
Yep. And it's also solidifies that he really loves her, and he can't do anything to save her. Like that's just that's it.
I have another clip here.
Look, the wedding ring.
That's when he realizes who it, what's going on.
What What I love
Me
about
too.
it is she's always wanted a wedding ring that he wasn't going to give her.
Yep.
And
Isn't that
so
interesting?
But
so this is a little
it's also a foreshadowing too, I think.
right. But she's also trying to subtly tell him, like, hey, we can get married. I already
Look.
have the ring.
I stole the ring from Golem.
Yeah. I stole the ring from a dead woman.
Yep.
I'm wearing a dead woman's ring.
Or a figment of the main character's imagination and psyche. Which
Well, you know,
that's very cool that it parallels like that. I really like that, Copa. You should do a critique. I could see you writing a very handsome article on the subject.
It's interesting. It's interesting though, because the whole point of what they're trying to make is that, okay, so if she's gone away to, rest and relax, and they're supposed to be, a married couple, then why would you leave a wedding ring behind? I mean, like that's one thing that Grace Kelly picked up. Like that's a very like it's a women's intuition on that. It's like why would if they love each other, or if they're a married couple, why would you leave your married your wedding band behind? And I my mom doesn't take hers off, neither does my dad, so it's something that you notice.
So he's like he looks over there for the make sure I'm on the right apartment.
And he's like, gosh darn it, George Bailey. I would have gotten away for it if it wasn't for you pesky kids.
Yeah, but just to touch on this, I mean, everything is mirrored upon each other, or at least layered. And so when she gets that wedding ring on, I mean, it's just such a nice little ironic touch.
Yeah, he's talking with the detective here, but I love when he picks up the phone and just starts talking, but then he realizes, oh, wait.
And the click on the other side of the line there.
Yeah.
He realizes what he did, the mistake, because he was so in the moment, and oh gosh, and the steps going, you hear the stairwell steps, and it's like, oh my gosh.
And the Coen brothers steal so much from this. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen this scene make its way over to the Coen brothers movie, but it works for every single time it's played out. The sliver of light underneath a door, the shadows of the footsteps stepping in front of it, but just lingering there instead of opening the door right away. I mean, that shit sends chills down your spine. And then you see like the doorknob kind of twist open.
Yeah.
The villain finally presents.
And
this scene
there's
too.
light.
This shot
light
here.
In the doorway. Yeah.
It's showing the threat. It's pointed. The camera's pointed down at him.
Exactly. So the camera's tilted down, so it makes him look even smaller than he is.
Right.
And being vulnerable too, because I mean we already know he's vulnerable, but the visual effect of he is literally vulnerable here. Like he is literally trapped. So he can't get up and move. I mean, this even right here, like it's just like it shows how visually vulnerable he is, as a reminder to the audience and the amount of adrenaline rush we're feeling too for him, because we're feeling the same adrenaline rush as him. We're scared, like we feel trapped in this situation. We're with him. And then I love the contrast here with you have the dark lighting, the light behind him in the stair and the hall, and then just the light on the eyes. I mean, look at it. He looks so drained and tired, and it's also very threatening too, because he's almost got a crazed look on his face.
See, this is the shot I was talking about, where the light is just here in his eyes.
You can see all the emotion, the fear, the tiredness, the anger, all in one little shot.
Yeah, that kind of ironically relaxed desperation.
Well, it's a shot that denotes that the darkness is swallowing him whole, and there's only like a little bit left before he goes completely mad.
Yeah, and I have a clip for this here too. Where is it?
Jacob, you're announcing all the clips tonight, bro. I don't understand this. Yeah, I want to be cut off. Interrupt me.
Okay.
That's
the wrong one. There it is. Here it is.
I love that.
Man, it's so cool.
Oh,
It is cool, and it's his only defense mechanism. That's all he has. But that's funny that his work is there to not necessarily just save him, because I don't think it necessarily completely saves him, but it provides enough time to save him. Like it
Yeah.
assisted in that, and I
Yeah.
love the fact that too.
Yeah,
You were talking about Copa. Darkness swallowing him. Now there's this bright light that like stops him.
Right.
Like,
So
it's-
he's overexposed because
Mhm.
what did Jimmy Stewart and the rest of the investigation party do? They exposed his crime.
Mhm.
So now
Yep.
in this very moment of him about to kill Jimmy Stewart, he completely exposes him for who he is, which is a total and complete killer.
Yep.
and then we
And
have
it's
the
at
next.
this moment that Jimmy.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder how they did that. For 1950, what, 4 or 3?
Probably a green screen, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and the camera probably pulled back.
That
Yeah.
that didn't look like a green screen though.
The movie.
Yeah, no, they
you
didn't.
know,
They didn't have a
the
green
one
screen back
Saboteur?
then.
Oh, I think I know how they did. They
Saboteur.
reversed
Remember
it.
the movie Saboteur, where the
Yeah.
guy falls off the Statue of Liberty? It's the same. It looks the same.
Mm.
So I don't know
Okay.
what.
Hmm.
You could probably find it.
So is this before North by Northwest or after?
Before, I think.
Okay. So North by Northwest is pulling the same gag from this, where the end of the movie happens at the cliff edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, and it's a
It'd be-
it's a climax, a part of the movie. So like we're literally hanging on the edge of our seats. in this
Right.
instance.
I would go in so far as to say Vertigo is the one that
Oh, yes, true.
Yeah.
That's
picks
another
up on
Jimmy
this.
Stewart starring movie.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another clip.
You saying it was buried in the flower bed?
Yeah. He said the dog got too inquisitive, so he dug it up. It's in a hat box over in his apartment.
Want to look?
No, thanks. I don't want any part of it.
yes, she does. You big liar.
It's so funny. But see, that's great dialogue with that, because it's just, it does cut the tension, because we're so relieved, and then here's this. It's not necessarily meant to be completely funny, but you can't help but chuckle at that, because it is kind of it's a good chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because with Hitchcock, he's known to have said like, "Hey, dialogue doesn't really mean that much unless it dictates how you're acting with your eyes." And so she says that like little funny line, but the acting in her eyes when she pulls back and says, "But I do, and I'm going to look anyways."
Yeah, exactly.
That's totally the exclamation point on everything. She didn't even have to say it. You knew that's what she was saying anyways. It's just,
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yep. Well, and the
And,
whole point
yeah.
of this movie is that three people became nosy about other people in their lives,
Yeah.
and it's like,
yeah. That's
It's
what I'm saying too. Is like,
It's ironic.
we're being even more ironic when we point out the fact that we're being nosy as well watching this film.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's not my fault. It's such a good movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my fault that Miss Torso and Grace Kelly look so good, and there's a murder across the way there, and absolutely.
And
Mhm.
and now we get the wrap up, at the very end.
Yeah.
It's in the 70s.
It's
Temperature's
cool.
going down.
It's
Oh.
comfortable. It's not that, it's relaxing. It's not like overwhelming heat.
Everybody
and I
be everybody be
Predator
cool.
was
It's
probably
chill now.
around because of the heat.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the next slide too. So Miss Lonely Hearts was saved by his music, and now they're together. And it's like,
Yeah,
wow.
man.
I love it. It's so beautiful.
So
That too.
you tried to
they're
kill
painting-
yourself, huh?
they're cleaning the apartment.
Mhm.
Yep. Fresh
Does
coat
it-
of paint.
Doesn't the nurse have like a quip about that too?
About the paint.
Yeah, something like that. I thought
I
she
don't-
did.
I don't.
Well,
I
it's
don't
when
think
it's
so.
when Thorwald was cleaning off the bathroom wall or something.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Like when he was supposed to, where else is he supposed to cut up his wife, but also the best place to clean the blood and everything. Yeah. And now they have a new puppy.
She's training a new dog.
Mm-hmm.
And this too is so funny.
I know, it's so funny.
It's like her boyfriend comes back and it's like he's a little guy.
Yeah, I was about to say her midget boyfriend. Oh my god, she towers over him.
Mm-hmm.
Death by snoo.
Hot times, summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty.
Who's this? I can't remember these guys.
That's the married couple.
That's the new married.
That's right.
Married couple.
He's getting his strength back.
Well, no.
Copa.
She makes the comment to him that's like, I didn't know you quit your job before we got married.
Oh no. Oh, so that's why that's why he's like, oh, okay, I got some energy back. Because she's not giving him any play anymore.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah, because he kind of did not disclose that. And I love this look. Remember how grumpy he was? Now he looks peaceful, he looks happy, and he looks, satisfied. And then we see this. But it's like you know what? Great. He's okay. He's okay with it.
He's happy now.
He's embracing it.
Well, the thing of it is that now he's completely immobile. He can't do his adventure photography. He's made to stay there. He's made to stay grounded. Yeah. And if we're going to look at the next couple of frames,
and he's also has his back to the windows.
Right.
The first scene we see of him, he's facing the windows.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't need to do that anymore.
Okay, so since we pretty much went through most of this movie,
hold on, this
beyond
is so
the high Himalayas.
Here she is.
I do have one last clip.
I love that. That is so good.
Wearing jeans. She's wearing jeans.
I keep forgetting to look. Is she wearing a ring?
And
I don't think so, but I think you can tell from this perspective that as the audience we can tell that their relationship is going to move forward.
Oh, 100%.
I
was actually hoping that we wouldn't see a ring.
Yeah.
She makes sure he's asleep and then pulls out a
bizarre magazine. And I love the little
I love it.
I love the little satisfied smirk at the end too. Like this is exactly where she wants to be. Just kind of right here.
She won.
Yep.
Yeah, she won. After all.
But yet Jimmy Stewart is happy too. So I mean
Yeah,
but she just needed to get him over his curmudgeon phase, and
they've they've kind of softened a little bit on their positions of
that he needs to be adventurous, but it's okay to be grounded too.
Right. Yeah. And you can look away from the action.
I haven't entirely softened. I still have these casts to get off my goddamn legs.
What a fantastic movie. I mean, I'm sorry, but Grace Kelly is so easy on the eyes, even for a street woman like me.
There's no denying it. There's absolutely no denying it. If anybody denies it, they're a dang dirty liar.
Exactly.
Max, I'm not bashful about, Henry Cavill's a beautiful man. Okay. And the first time I saw, Daniel Craig in Casino Royale, I'm like, holy crap, that's a hunk of man right there. Look at that guy coming out of the water. I can appreciate
some woman on a stream, I forget what stream it was on, but was saying that she didn't really like Henry Cavill. And I'm like, really? That's weird.
I mean, how do you I know there's this joke about and it was so funny because I made a comment about it last night on Toxic Film that, doesn't he have short arms? But he's a good looking man. Why would anybody say who doesn't like Henry Cavill? It's weird.
Who doesn't like Grace Kelly? I mean, come on.
Exactly. But like I was saying, now that we went through this entire film, I think there's only one geographical shot that establishes where exactly Jimmy, the other perspective towards Jimmy Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I think we only get his window frame once in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect Hitchcock. You only get the full frame of the picture at the most dramatic moment of the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we
I-
need to know what's on that side of the courtyard? You know,
Right. Exactly.
there's no point.
But that's the
I mean,
that's the only time the camera switches away from his perspective and it shoots directly into his apartment.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a clever thing too that this cinematically does exactly what theater does. Everything's in a box.
Exactly. Well, it has to be because it's on a stage and it's on a single stage, right? So it has to play off in this. It's really interesting and fascinating because it's like this 2-dimensional space designed in a 3-dimensional way. And then it comes back to us once again in the audience watching it on a 2-dimensional screen. It's a fascinating thing to be a part of. That's why I love Rear Window is probably my top 10, just because
me too.
you can dive in deep. You could go many different angles with this film.
And you can just watch it as just a simple movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yep.
I mean, even going through it like we've done, y'all have picked up on things I didn't notice, and I've seen this movie so many times I can't count.
Right.
That's usually
Well,
how
it goes
it happens.
it goes to show you that you don't need a lot of moving parts, or
Mm-mm.
more precisely, all of your moving parts don't need to be the center of frame all the time.
Right.
That
Right.
if you just plant that damn camera, I think there's an expression where if you sat on a street corner long enough, you'd meet every celebrity in the world, like something along those lines. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing, but this movie basically puts the camera basically in one spot. And it's because of that that I think we can start to get into all of these other realms that Copa and I were kind of kicking around, that Mags and I were kicking around as well. Because there's so much texture, and we don't see enough to definitely prove anything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it can all become poetry at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, it's just simple cinematic filmmaking and a cinematic approach. So there was this experiment done a long time ago, back in the silent film era, where you shot a guy who is reacting to something.
Yep.
And then you cut to like a dead cat in the road. And then you cut back to him, and your feeling as the audience who's watching it is one of shock and horror. Then you cut back to like a bowl of soup, and cut back to the man who has the same expression, but in your mind, in the audience's mind, you think he's expressing hunger now, but the look has never changed. And so it goes to that, because it's several different times you are looking at Jimmy Stewart's reaction to what he's seeing,
Mm-hmm.
but his reaction has never changed. It's just the audience's perspective of what's happening has changed, and we project that onto him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which pushes it into that psychological realm where we're interpreting in real time, because the film is forcing us to do so.
Right.
You know, if the camera was focused on every single bit of action, center frame, it wouldn't have the same effect at all. We wouldn't have the same psychological experience.
Yeah, see, it forces the audience to be an active participant throughout the entire picture. And that's why I like that it's a slow burn at first as well, because once the action starts going, you're along for the ride, and you actually feel like, even on a subconscious level, that you're actively participating in trying to figure out if this person was murdered or not. And you start buying into it, because at first you think, at least for me in my experience, is you think this dude is just completely bonkers. He's just he's totally isolated, and he's just losing his mind watching these people day in and day out for 7 weeks. But as time goes on, you start buying into it. His friends start buying into it. And now it's like an active investigation that you're all trying to figure out inside this just tiny little box.
Yeah.
It's just so fascinating. And then you, as the audience member, is a part of all that. it really draws you in. I love every moment of that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah, the movies today these people need to go back to film school and study movies like this.
Yeah, you know, like I said, like I was saying throughout our stream here, is a modern filmmaker would jump into the action. So they would either show you like the investigation into the train station, or the guy coming back home with the suitcase, and it's this tilt up sweeping dolly shot from left to right of the guy getting out of the taxi cab and walking down the alley and walking upstairs into his apartment, and then we see Jimmy Stewart with his camera looking from the other side. Completely wrong thing to do. But modern filmmaking is all about action, movement. No one wants to take time to breathe anymore.
Yeah.
And again, I will bring up anime. I don't know what the spectrum of anime viewing is on the panel here, but some of my favorite moments in pretty much all anime is when the camera either pulls way back or settles and breathes a few beats on a prop that is so well executed in design or illustration that it sets a tone of reality. Like, we're all here. Right. This is the plane of the reality that we're in.
What's interesting about anime is that they'll plop you right in the middle of action. Like, you just get plopped right into some kind of just hellacious battle. And then it all plays out. You don't have any idea who to root for and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh, hey, we're going to take like maybe 5 or 6 beats and now start playing out the story for you. Like, you got some action in you. You got pumped up for the story, but now we're going to figure out why we're fighting. And I always found that to be fascinating with anime.
Yeah. The framing device. I don't know why we ever lost that pre-title credits framing device that we saw in a lot of James Bond movies and action thrillers, where they'd set up the tone of the film without necessarily even intruding on the storyline you're about to see roll out.
Almost like a prologue in a book, like just kind of setting up the scene, setting it all up to get you into like, okay, all right, this is what's going on. All right, I see what you're laying down. So
Yep. To kind of set up even the tone of how the story is going to get told as well. Like, these are the camera tricks we're going to use, like at the beginning of Watchmen, the title sequence in Watchmen, where they're kind of thumbing through a live action photo album almost, because and you get that sense, even though it's not a photo album, but there's camera bulbs blasting away, and there are these vignettes that appear to be shockingly still but still moving, and you're like, you feel like you're flipping through a history and you're getting a history lesson, and it because the tone of it is a history lesson. Right? The camera tricks they're deploying are history lesson camera tricks, right? Like snapshots and flash bulbs, and we know what time period we're in. It's so, I don't know. And I would disagree that it's not because they didn't go to film school or that they need to study these kinds of films more. It's that they've never seen these films.
Yeah.
I come across dozens of film school students that openly say film school student reviews film for the first time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, you haven't seen Harold and Maude? Wait, you never saw the first MASH movie? Like, what school did you go to? Give me their phone number right now. I need to call the dean of students. What the hell? What's going on here?
But the thing is, like, even when I was coming up in film school and stuff like that, it was more of, with American filmmaking, it has turned into, and everybody thinks we're living in an open sandbox. And I keep telling a lot of people trying to get into film now, where I'm like, look, you look at Marvel movies and all these comic book movies and like the Fast and Furious franchise. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, anything to your heart's content. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Just because you get these budget films and a green screen, and you could let your imagination loose. No, you need parameters set. If you get a sandbox to play in and say, hey, you know what? I'm only going to make a movie for $10 million. You can get a lot of creativity done with $10 million than you probably could with $200 million making a Marvel film.
Yeah,
And plus,
Primer is the perfect example. Are you familiar with the movie Primer? Primer
Absolutely,
is like
100%.
super low budget, and yet the tone and the texture and all the tension in that film is like, wait, this guy filmed it for what? Like, for real?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It forces you with that sort of smaller budget. It forces you to be creative, to come up with creative devices and ways to be able to create your story, your scene, whatever you need to do. And it forces you to be imaginative and be able to use the resources that you have.
Exactly.
And
a fantastic, well-known example of that is the difference between Lucas's first run of Star Wars movies and what happened with the prequels. In the first set, he had all of the pressure of 20th Century Fox going, dude, you can't do that. We're not going to let you do that. Sorry, not going to do that. It's off the table. But nope. And he didn't get that. He didn't get that for the prequels.
I think another example would be Holy Grail, where they were working on such a cheap budget they couldn't get horses to ride, so they had to figure out some way to depict them being on horses. Who knows who came up with the idea, but that's where you got.
I would say Gillian.
Probably.
I would say Gillian.
Exactly. There it is. And it works. It totally fits the story, and it's creatively done, and that's how they worked around having.
And you lose track
horses.
of it as a joke. It just becomes part of the atmosphere. It's like, it is the way Holy Grail works.
And it's believable in that kind of comedy of story. Like you're totally into it.
Right.
Yeah, you blank it out. But I think an excellent example of Copa is to not necessarily put it into the film frame, but a chef making a dinner, just because it's a sandbox, isn't going to produce everything on the menu, right? You're going to have a concise meal with the proper wine, and all the flavors and textures are going to go together. And even the room itself may have a little bit of theming, and that's it. You don't need to go any further than that. I know it's a great big sandbox.
You make a recipe. You don't just throw all the ingredients in. There's a shortened. There's a certain steps you have to take.
Right. You have yield. You have baking time. You have yielding time. You have all kinds of rising times as well in cooking. So you can't let these things just explode on the screen just because you can. Everything needs to be tempoed and tempered. It's it's the subtlety of art. You couldn't do the same thing on a first date either. You can't do everything at once on a first date, even though you got the whole amusement park out in front of you and you got a pass.
Yeah, you saw what happened to that
one at a time.
You saw what happened to Miss Lonely Heart's date. He got smacked in the face for trying all the stuff at once.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a
no-go. I'm not joking,
Copa.
I think that's an excellent article. If you were ever interested. There's so many different crossovers just that we went over in just this live streams alone, on top of, or with the spine of it being that it's all Jimmy's psyche playing out around him, and how these characters mirror other characters on the other side, not only in appearance, but also in context to the plot line. And then you couple that with the voyeurism of the audience and the intention of the director. There's a lot of meat on that bone. I'm totally serious that's an excellent idea for an article.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm probably going to run with that because there's just so many layers to this film. Like you can, there's not too many films out there where you can watch it on not one or two layers, but multiple layers, like 3 or 4 layers, and you still get a great picture out of it. And like Jacob said, or you can just watch it as a regular film.
Yep. Just sit down and look at it. And see, that's the beauty of the fact that this movie has, or movies like this, like this, or that are similar to this type of movie, where they add so many layers for different tastes of an audience. So an audience, this is what I mean by being able to work with a general audience, to be able to meet, you're not going to meet everybody, but for the majority of people, you're going to be able to meet everybody's sweet spot in terms of what they're looking for and enjoy in a film. And this is kind of one of those films that can do that. You know, it can be done as a regular popcorn thriller type movie, which it is in a way. But if you peel back the layers, you know, peel like a layer like an onion, it's far deeper than that. You can really explore into all the themes and all the framing that goes on, and not just visually, but also sound wise, you know, with the music and everything else. It's just, it's overall, you can go completely in depth into this, and it's like it's a fun playground to be able to peel back those layers, because, you know, for us, you know, who love and enjoy older classic films like this, you know, we can see these over and over again, and we can peel another layer. We can almost see like another layer revealed that we didn't really notice before. And it's like, what's this? Ooh.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like you were talking about the music. I had no idea. It never dawned on me. And Lisa brought it up in the chat. This notion that the pianist is working on this piece of music. And these parties are happening, right? All of this interaction, this chaos is going on in his apartment. And then when it finally simmers down, he's got a bunch of guys there, and it's really starting to hook up. He's got his song. I think we've got our song, boys. And then he meets Miss Lonely Hearts.
Yep.
Completing the whole picture. I mean, just that parallel alone has got so much on it.
Right.
It's crazy. I never noticed it before.
Yeah. Yeah, if you notice with the music, it starts off with like what, 2 or 3 notes, and then ever so often there's one part, if I remember correctly, he like runs over to the piano, or he's like cleaning, and then he like turns around and tries to play like a couple notes of the song he's trying to come up with, and he's like, no, that's not it. And then he's like totally frustrated and just walks away.
And then later on you see him come in the room, and he's been drinking and he's drunk. And I think he even looks at the piano and like shrugs it off or something like.
It's so good, so good.
Right, you know, this chat has been absolutely astonishing.
Going to town.
And thank you, Jacob Ironside, for the opportunity to rewatch this movie again. I think I probably watch this movie at least 3 times a year. So it's
it's definitely in my top 10 films of all time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It might be my favorite. No, it's not my favorite Hitchcock though. My favorite Hitchcock by far is North by Northwest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites too. That and Notorious has recently really grown on me, and it's really funny because one of the you know, when you review or even watch movies or shows these days, I always now have to have almost like a checkbox of another criteria called rewatchability. And I know it's not really a term, but it's kind of a made up term that I have to do, and let me tell you, a lot of these films, and I know there are some, just like Mr. Chuckle Trunk said in the chat, that there's so many movies that are being made as now that good movies and good shows are being lost. So there's so much content, it's almost saturated. But the thing is, too, a lot of stuff that we're getting today is not rewatchable. It's not. I mean, I don't miss seeing some things, and in order to have that hit that category, you have to be able to fill the multiple layers effect, in my opinion. And you know, this movie certainly does not. It still ages like fine wine. It almost gets better with every watch. So thank you for the opportunity for me to enjoy it again, Jacob.
Yeah, I feel like the 2010s is where you really start feeling the rewatchability of films go down.
It takes a nosedive.
Yeah, it takes it now. It's like if you get one a year where you feel like you want to watch it again, man, you are lucky. Like there was like 2 last year that made me want to rewatch them, and that was Top Gun Maverick and Triple R. Like I can't think of many other films that came out last year that made me want to rewatch them.
You know, since all these newer Marvel movies have come out, I don't even want to watch the old ones. You know, the first ones.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
I probably rewatch Iron Man, and I just totally keep it separate. It's like in my mind, I have it separated from everything
I can rewatch everything up to Endgame, other than maybe Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Like, you could keep those two out, and I'll be fine. Oh, yeah, you could keep those two out, and I'd be fine. But everything else, like, I could still rewatch them. Like, I don't feel that kind of betrayal to where they ruined.
It's not betrayal with me. It's more. It's just I don't feel the need to watch it.
No.
I don't know.
Well, there's some pieces of art you get burnt out.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
It's more along the lines of I know where this is all going. It's one thing to watch it up to Endgame in the Marvel universe. It's a totally different thing with the Star Wars universe for me. It's like I can't even. I can't. It's just like, not because I feel like a loss. It's more like these characters are not. There's fewer of what I enjoyed than what is currently out there, than the body of what is out there, and therefore that's actually more validated. And then I talk to people like, Zax and Flaccid and some of these other characters, AJ and such, and it's just like, what are you talking about? You like the prequels? I mean, I'm not even going to fight you on it. It's like, I just don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. You're wrong. Okay, not going to fight you on it, but you're wrong.
Well, you just met another one, because I like the prequels too.
I can understand why they're enjoyable. I really can. They were certainly visually exciting, and I can't even imagine what they were like as a younger person watching them. I watched them already starting to feel a little jaded because of the special edition came out.
Right. And
I was just like, no.
Yeah,
what is
Stephen,
this?
I grew up with the non-special edition type VHS tapes. So when the special editions came out, I even at I don't remember what age I was, but it was definitely before 10 years old. I was jaded. I did not like them.
Yeah.
I thought it was dumb. So it's just,
and it takes you out of it.
Yeah,
it does.
Oh yeah.
I remember having
a pizza party that way. It's like, that's a new scene. That's a new scene. That's new. That's new. And it's like, shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah, I had the originals, and I threw them out, or my parents threw them out, or whatever, when the special editions came out, because why have two different copies, not really knowing what was going on inside them, and then also taking for granted that you thought that the originals were going to be around forever. Now I don't even think you can find a correct version unless
there isn't one. And they destroyed that guy that was making a 4K original version.
Right.
Wow.
They basically shut that guy down. I don't think his stuff. A few people were able to download his content, but I don't think he even exists anymore. As far as
I think the only way to be able to receive that is to know who those people are and to Napster it, basically. That's the only way.
Because it's weird. It's like you try to present an article. You try and present an argument about these older films, and the only point of reference is the special edition. And it's like, I'm watching these young people watching Star Wars for the first time, quote unquote, and they're like, they're looking at these scenes like, oh, how did they do this in the 70s? And I'm yelling at the screen going, they didn't do that in the 70s. That's from the 1998 special edition. So, it's very frustrating.
It goes along
because they don't even have the originals.
Yeah, it goes along with the same thing. Oh, we can make this old stuff better,
Yeah, it's the whole attitude.
It was George trying to make an extra buck, but what blew my mind was the fact that he didn't allow the originals to be bought up still. Like, that's double your money, dude.
Yeah. I know why he did it, though. I'm pretty sure I know why he did it, and I think that's why they're doing all of this stuff now, and it all goes right back to copyright. And there's a feeling that I have that George did the special edition to cut a whole bunch of people out of the residuals for the film.
Okay, makes sense.
The whole 25% thing.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
What gets me with that is all the special effects people that put all their time and sweat into making all the models and figuring it all out, because I doubt George Lucas figured it all out. You know,
Yeah.
No.
the model makers did all that.
Yeah.
Well, he had a lot of help with some of the people. Well, he got a lot of footing with THX 1138.
I mean,
Mhm.
this is the purest form I could have, because this is not special editions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, we lost Jacob for a sec.
Oh,
that's right.
But
Bye, Jacob. He had to go. He
Yes.
didn't even.
So
Yeah,
this is-
that was like really. Those versions were released in like what, 95, if I remember.
Yep, 95. It says it right back here. Yep.
yeah, that's
and
the
then,
THX editions, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The they're remastered.
Yeah, right here. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then 97 was the special editions, and then 99 was the prequel.
So I was 9 then, and I was mad because I grew up literally rewinding these suckers all the time, and it's like,
well, you're lucky. You're lucky you got those, because
it's so strange. I don't understand how this actually works, but when the American Film Society puts your film into the historical archive,
pretty good condition too, still, even though my brothers and I wore this out.
They don't even have a copy of the original print anymore. They were never presented with a print by Lucas.
No, it makes me wonder where he preserved his films, the film canisters. Where did they go? Because they all went to the salt mine there in what is it, in Missouri? Like, that's usually where they would preserve the films.
Jacob's back.
Hey, Jacob.
Is that your internet?
It must have been. I guess it just went out for a second.
Who let him back in?
That's hysterical.
but yeah, I don't know how he preserved those films, because they have to be preserved in very, very tight conditions.
Yeah, Tickle Truck's got it. No original, destroying the original, and then not presenting a 4K version is akin to book burning. I completely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, you're not keeping the legacy. You're not preserving it. Basically, you're just kind of letting.
You're not preserving the point of reference.
Yeah.
So I feel like an idiot talking about original Star Wars when there's no such thing on the shelf for me to even point to.
That's why I want
absurd.
I don't care if this is VHS. I am going to try to put these on DVDs so I can make sure to preserve, not only just keep these alive, but also have them on another disc.
Yeah.
There's a company that's out there that will take your VHS and put them on DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. Like they.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look it up right now. You just ship it out. It's an internet-based company.
See, the problem is I'm scared of doing stuff like that because I'm afraid something's going to get lost.
Well, not only that, but they have your copy. What if they don't return it?
Yeah.
What if they make a copy for themselves as well? And
I'm very, very. I'm precious.
Do you have a VHS player?
I can probably find one.
I would say find two, dupe it, and then send out the dupe.
That's true. Wouldn't that cut down on the quality of the film, though?
Yeah.
That's true.
But the tape is going to be completely useless in not so many years. It's already coming to its last days. The material itself starts to break down, and all the magnetic interference happening on the surface of it too starts to break down. So. I remember this with Betamax. It's like the tapes would just get old really fast. 15, 20-year-old tapes would just be unreadable. But production tapes are a completely different story. But I have multiple copies of those THX editions. I have a special box set that comes with the makings of as well. It's got a slip case around the whole thing. But anyway, how we wound up here after Grace Kelly, I just don't know.
Me neither.
So sorry about that.
I'm on the panel, so I'm going to derail it somehow.
Oh, there you go. Jenna, do something about this boy, would you, Jenna? I mean,
She's the only one who could control this nutball of a man that I am.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't here the whole night, and I kept wanting to look. Kept looking over in the chat, going, "No, Jana's not even here. I can't call Copa
No,
on his
she was
his
playing on another
occupation."
channel. Yeah.
Your occupation with that married couple and how he was so burdened with sexual activity. Poor guy. Did you hear any of that, Jana? Did you hear?
No,
any of that?
she was playing on Tyler the Redbeard's channel tonight.
Oh, the one who wrote a better review than you did on Cocaine Bear?
Oh, did you like Cocaine Bear?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm teasing you.
That's
Rubbing
okay.
the salt, just rubbing a little salt.
I didn't even know. I'd never even heard of that movie.
What?
Cocaine Bear?
Yeah. It just came out. Silly,
came out Friday,
from what I understand.
So
I've heard mixed reviews on it.
I didn't like it whatsoever. It was boring. Like, how do you make a movie called Cocaine Bear and then put your audience to sleep like right away? Like, you want balls to the wall crazy is what my argument was. Because do any of you like B horror films like Sharknado or Snakes on a Plane? Do you guys watch any of those?
No.
Horror is not my thing.
Okay, yeah. So I'll watch like stupid
slapstick horror.
Yeah, stupid slapstick. Right. Like I could watch Hot Fuzz. Now that's great.
Okay, or like
but he's talking about like Sharknado and
like Sharknado. Yeah. So if you enjoy those films, that's like Cocaine Bear is just right up your nose alley.
Oh, okay.
And like they completely blew it. They never get crazy enough. It's just the Cocaine Bear is barely in it, and he barely snorts he barely skis Party Mountain. And you go, what the hell? Like, why am I here? Like, he's barely in it. He barely kills people, and he barely does cocaine. So this isn't as ridiculous as I wanted it to be. Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time. And then and then you leave. Like, yeah, see,
what?
He what?
Who left?
What do you mean who left?
You said you left.
Oh no, I'm like you say, bro, I'm straight up not having a good time, and then you leave the freaking movie right in the middle.
Oh, he's talking about the alleged audience of Cocaine Bear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kinds of films I always thought were like silly, but that's because I'm a highbrow snob.
Oh, well, look at you with your rear windows and your original Star Wars.
That's where my brain goes, man. It's just been like that. It's what happens when you get raised by a film file.
Right.
Last 10 minutes here. Any final thoughts on this movie?
It's fantastic. Every time I watch it, there's so many new details that I find and explore and be able to pick up on. And it's one of those movies that definitely gets I feel like it gets better with time too. I don't know what it is. It doesn't need to necessarily have be stuck in that time period. Like, it still can stay true today in terms of relatability as well as relationships and the way you check in on people's lives, or what's the ethics of even that. So it's a overall great film. It's definitely one of Hitchcock's I would say one of his best films, that and North by Northwest. But I highly recommend it. Definitely for people, if you're not into classic film, I definitely recommend, especially Rear Window, for people to really get the feel and the layout of the land as far as good classic films are concerned, especially top-notch ones. So
definitely.
Yeah, it would definitely be in a top 5 recommendation of this time period of cinema, post-war.
Yep,
cinema in Hollywood and Europe, because it had a totally different flavor than before.
Yeah, when they speak of the golden age of cinema, this is one of them films that needs to be brought up.
Yeah. Everybody's almost overthinking everything. Everything has got such care put into it. You were talking about how the set looks so real, Mags, where you're like, wow, look how dirty down all of this is, and the water stains on the concrete and everything was just lived in.
the plants and the flower bed and the dirt on the sidewalk, and then the cat, walking around, and just all these little details of, being it's very to me, as somebody who likes detail like that, like you already are you're already captured into it. Like you already feel like you're there in the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mr. Tickletrunk said it. A film is never content, it's art. The film is an expensive meal, and content is McDonald's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these studios treat film as today. It's just content, it's just filler, just pump it out, pump it out, pump it out, pump it out. It's
conveyor belt. Yeah.
Yeah, look at Disney. That's all they do. Disney
This
used to
movie
be
is. Go ahead.
Well, what I was saying is Disney used to be the studio that understood how to make a simple story and then tell it in the most beautiful way possible. And it's just like from age 3 to age 83, everybody understood what they were watching, and
they could enjoy it too.
They can enjoy it too. But now Disney is just content. You're just constantly getting hammered, and they don't even make anything worth your while. And if they attempt to market it, they market it as some kind of LGBT exploration film like Lightyear, and they try to hammer you over the head with that and then make you feel bad for not seeing it. So it's
but the film wasn't made for us, Copa.
I know.
You know what happens when you eat too much McDonald's?
You get fat and die.
It wrecks your body.
Yeah, it
totally does.
It wrecks your body, and it corrupts your insides, or preserves your insides. Basically, if you die, you feel like you're.
So many of these characters have a Buddha in their backyard, right? They have Buddhist things around their house. I mean, I've been in dozens and dozens of these, people's houses, and there's all this Buddhist influence. And I'm like, there was this whole thing that Buddha was really high about, and that was this whole thing of moderation. And you guys have been retreading the same pathway over and over and over again for like the last 35 years. It's like, I'm sorry, but these are films and stories, not Model T Fords, okay?
Yeah, right.
These are not muskets being made by revolutionary blacksmiths, okay? This is not... You can't just make a new Star Wars. That's just not how this works, okay? George Lucas probably could not explain why it worked in the first place, the first time. So how are you going to make more of it, right? It just doesn't...
Yeah.
Right. Yep. It's like duping a tape, isn't it?
Yeah, you get lower and lower resolution every time you dupe
lower quality.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Well, let's go around the panel. Stephen, what you got?
I am currently in a gigantic holding pattern. This is pretty much the last thing I had penciled in, and I cannot. Nothing going on at present. This has been a fantastic thing. God, what did we penciled this in like weeks ago, didn't we? Like Close Encounters weeks ago.
Yeah,
and been looking forward to it. It's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So. Thank you for having me on, Jacob. I tell you, these little, let's call it a soiree, because we've all been on such good behavior. There haven't really been very many dirty jokes, right? It's all been very pleasant, very.
It's my third time. Yeah, I've been third time's a charm on Jacob's channel. I don't think I cussed once at all.
Yeah, Jacob brings a cocktail party atmosphere.
It's a detox,
It totally is.
Well, Max, I know you have something coming up. You want to plug it?
Yep. On Thursday, I will be playing the remaster of one of my favorite games of all time, and I'll be playing the remaster for the first time. And that is, it's a remaster of the 1994 classic game Final Fantasy VI. So that'll be my first time playing the remaster version of it that was released on Steam like a year and a half ago. And this is my first game stream. So please come out on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So I'll be really grateful for people to to show up there. And then on Saturday around noon, I'll be on Brandon the Anime Guy's channel discussing the first season of Sailor Moon. So one of my childhood classic anime shows that I grew up with back in the day. And we'll be discussing it. In fact, thanks to Brandon. He's such a good guy, but he gave me the Blu-ray version of it. So
cool.
I am really excited.
God, I remember when that whole thing happened. Just insane. What talk about a legendary piece of animation. That thing just broke all records. Everybody went bonkers overnight when that thing when Sailor Moon first hit the States. People went nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. It was like overnight.
Yeah.
It was overnight.
Gundam and Dragon Ball.
Between that and Pokemon,
I love
because
Gundam,
it broke through.
Yeah, Pokemon, Digimon, Gundam Wing, Dragon Ball Z. They were all like things that came out and then, or at least over here in the States, mid to late 90s, and that really broke them. I think anime was already here in the States, but I think those were the big dogs that really broke through. Yeah. On the mainstream side.
Yeah. So. And they did it on that other level, which was like it crossed over male and female demographics and just the Pokemon universe alone, everybody went in there for different reasons, but they all came away very satisfied with the material. It just kept on delivering. And then we got Ninja Scroll and all the others that you could just throw on that list. And it's just like, wow, this thing's got legs. And then that was it. We were well into the millennium turn at that point. That should be a fun show, Mags. Brandon brings it.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh yeah, and we're excited to get into all of those details. So come check me out on Thursday on my channel. Hopefully, Nintendo will leave me alone in terms of music and copyright issues, because copyright stuff is going around. So if that gets shut down, I'll probably have to move over to Twitch.
Prophet of the Dragon got
demonetized because of shorts, actually. And a lot of people are getting demonetized because of shorts. So just
how ridiculous
FYI.
is that?
I heard they're cutting shorts if you clip your stream and put it in a short. They're saying that it's reused content and therefore
what?
Yeah, and
how does that even work? That's your stuff.
Right, but they're saying that you're reusing content and therefore you can't be monetized. That's the rumor that's going around.
That's cartoon logic, man. I mean, it's like
I know.
Everybody was talking about the shorts being almost a requirement that YouTube was asking them to do, and it's like, what was it? A trap? It's a trap.
Yeah, and
that's why a lot of people realized that maybe it was a trap.
That's what Drunk 3PO on Triple M was saying last night. He was saying that they keep pushing shorts, but you don't see any return other than like it builds up your subscriber base, but like you don't see like those people viewing your content other than the shorts.
Right.
But they keep pushing that. The algorithm keeps pushing everybody towards shorts because they want to compete with TikTok and Instagram. But then on top of that, you get these people who are saying, okay, well, I'll just clip like my reviews or whatever, or my live stream to be a 1 minute short. And then they're saying, no, you're reusing your content. We can't monetize you. So it's like, dude, it's this entire circle jerk. Yeah, it's just the most ridiculous thing. You can't win.
Eventually, people are going to find other avenues for monetary gains, and that would be like using Streamlabs or Stream Elements or Subscribestar or even Locals and Rumble. I know it's all not very great, alternative sources, but at least it's better than having to have to deal with the headache of YouTube.
Rumble is playing the same stupid game, because with Rumble, you go on there on the homepage and it's all politics. And you're like, I don't care. I'm trying to get out of politics, out of my entertainment right now. And that's the war I'm kind of fighting on my channel. And then I go over to Rumble and it's just politics. And so you have to be a political channel with clout that you built on YouTube in order to be successful on Rumble. And that doesn't make sense to me either. If Rumble actually cared, they would start trying to build small streamers and mid-sized streamers to come over, jump ship and come over to them.
Yeah. Well, Copa, what do you have coming?
I don't got a live stream coming up. I did a review on Cocaine Bear. You could check that out on my channel. On Cannoli Sassy's channel, you can check out our interview we did with the one and the only Drunk 3PO. That happened yesterday. Yeah, it was really cool. And then also I have a book that I wrote. Oh, it's called Why Not Wichita. You can pick it up on Amazon. Paperback or Kindle. It's a novella, so you'll get through it in about, I don't know, 5 minutes. It only took me 10 minutes to write it. So so I have that sci-fi adventure, family friendly. You could read it to all your little ones that are probably over 5 or 6, and you wouldn't be mad at me. And that's about it. That's all I got going on. Thank you for having me. This was an enjoyable panel. I loved every moment of this. I love nerding out on movies like this. It's not often that I get to do this. I'm usually talking about some kind of Marvel movie or whatever. So for me to come and like sit down with not exactly the most art house of films, but still something that cinephiles really enjoy and talk about is a real treat. And I thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you. These type, just like Copa said, and, Stephen has said before, this is a good opportunity to revisit something that we all can enjoy. And it kind of helps realign us and refocus us into what is truly, why we are here to begin with. These are the movies that kind of made us in a way. They are part of our blood, they're part of our DNA. And this is certainly a good positive experience in terms of talking about what we truly love.
It's not like it's, you will talk about like the annoyance of modern media, those lead-ins where they show you a bunch of clips from a bunch of movies that you're supposed to think are important to cinema, and it's like Brad Pitt in this and so in that, and it's like, hit me in the face as hard as you can. I swear to God, if I hear that clip one more time at the beginning of some movie, I'm just gonna be like,
right,
like, no, these are the films, these are the ones. Okay, it's a Planet of the Apes and Ben-Hur and North by Northwest and Psycho and The Wild Bunch and Cool Hand Luke. Like, these are the films that you could just, they're so simple that they're just begging you to have a cocktail party and discuss the damn thing for a whole weekend. It's just, there's so much meat on it. It's great.
And that's the thing too. And we live in a culture now where we look at, I'm sorry. You're trying to sign off, and I'm sitting here trying to build off of what Ransom was saying. I'm just going to mute my microphone.
Jacob, you're there.
Am I?
Yes, you're there.
Okay. Well, next week I have episode 2 of Twilight Zone, of my Twilight Zone stream. Episodes 3 and 4.
Okay.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
Copa's frozen. Oh, no.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
No, okay. What was I pulling a stupid face? God, I hope so. So
it was great.
Are you okay? Cool. So with your Twilight Zone shows, are you doing it per episode?
Every two episodes a show.
Oh, okay. But you are going to cover the entire series.
Right.
Okay.
Once a month.
Dude, that's totally cool. I can't wait till you get to season 4 where they switch to hour episodes. Because not many people watch those.
Well, the newer ones.
No, the first the first Twilight Zone series with Rod Serling or Sterling. So season 4 they switched to Rod Serling. him and the crew on season 4 switched to hour-long episodes. I can't remember why, but they were trying to fill up 2 blocks. But not many people watch those because when they sold it to syndication, the people who bought it for syndication only wanted the half-an-hour episodes. Yo, what's up?
You're breaking up real bad for me, Copa.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I'll back off.
So what else you got going on, Jake?
Well, that's pretty much it for right now. I'll be putting out a schedule for people to check out. Oh yeah, I have 2 subscribers away from 150.
Woo!
Yo, congratulations.
Getting there slowly but surely.
Maybe I'll subscribe. I'm going to subscribe.
Good job, Copa.
About
Good
time,
job.
Copa. Well,
Right.
I don't have a exit video, so I'm just gonna wrap it up right here.
Love it.
Now, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to new people in the chat that came out. That's great. And I will catch y'all guys next week. Y'all have a good one. Everybody wave.
Night.